How's it going, everybody? This is Dave Meltzer. We're going to be here for the next 2 hours talking pro wrestling, talking more about WrestleMania, which we talked about last night. We got Brian Alvarez here, and we're going to be taking your phone calls and your emails. We can also talk about anything else that you want to talk about pro wrestling, mixed martial arts, or anything, any subject under the sun. We can even talk about bodybuilding. And you want to call up about that, but obviously we're going to mainly talk about WrestleMania and the current political climate. In fact, tonight is the big night because it is the first night where we will never see Nitro again on Monday night.
It's really weird.
Right.
Can you hear me?
You know what? It's. I think the fact that because last night was WrestleMania and it was such a long show, and then we did this afterwards, that I'm not really ready for two wrestling shows. So I'm not going to feel it this week.
No.
Other people may.
I'm going to feel the fact that it's not going to be on. It's not going to be like, wow, where's that other 2 hours of wrestling that I'm supposed to watch tonight?
Yeah. I think next week it's going to be where I miss it in its own weird way. Especially trying to fill that space, I
miss Thunder in its own weird way.
I didn't this week. Maybe I won't miss anything.
There was something about Thunder where it was on a Wednesday and the newsletter was done and it was kind of a day where I could just sit back a little bit and Thunder was on and sometimes it was just, it was so bad that it was funny and it was just, something to do on a Wednesday night and now it is no longer there.
Yeah. Well, we can talk more about, what is interesting is today is, the response that I'm getting a lot more favorable. I won't say more favorable because all, the top matches were very well received last night. But as far as like best match and everything, a lot of sentiment away from tables, ladders, and chairs and towards Benoit and Kurt Angle. And I think it's one of those things where maybe people who think about it for an extra day, like when it was over, when that show was over, I thought that tables, ladders, and chairs was the best match on the show. But when you think about it, it was kind of like, the tables, ladders, and chairs was the same tables, ladders, and chairs spots, whereas the Benoit Angle was like, something really different. So maybe that's what it is, and maybe people, especially if you're like a real hardcore fan, it's like, that's a style of wrestling that, you might really like and you rarely get to see in this country.
I was actually surprised, too, by the amount of feedback we got for the main event as the best match on the show. I thought that was kind of, it wasn't like it was a bad match or anything like that, but you had the tables, ladders, and chairs and Benoit and Angle, and everyone just going, man, the near falls in the main event and everything like that was just so great, and it was the best match on the show, and I thought, wow, well, they did it.
Well, the drama was really good. I thought it was a hell of a match. The one thing about, in comparing different matches and everything, it's like, Benoit and Angle would have had the hardest time because they had the most limitations. Basically, with the exception of the ref bump, which I think worked against them anyway, they had to do it with their 2 hands and their 2 feet and without a lot of props. The tables, ladders, and chairs was 100% props. And Austin and Rock, they had the outside interference and they had the whole storyline thing going for them, plus being in the main event. So, if you talk about the guys who had the best match with the with the least help, that would be Benoit and Angle. But I don't know that it was the best match because, that's one of the advantages of being in the main event, is that you're allowed to break the tables. And that Rock and Austin, their table broke early anyway, so they didn't get to do that spot.
What happened there? It was like Rock was just laying on it. It collapsed or something.
Yeah, that easily breakable table. Yeah, you broke like 2 minutes in. I was thinking like, well, that was supposed to come later in, the show with like a rock bottom or something like that through a table that we don't get to see. I don't know. Any other thoughts on the show that we didn't talk about last night? Because we pretty much covered it last night, I think.
Yeah, we pretty much covered everything. I still haven't watched the first 3 yet because you kind of, you warned me that I really didn't miss too much, so I just figured I'd wait till after Raw tonight and watch that. So, didn't see it yet, but I think we pretty much covered everything else.
Have you heard about what's on Raw tonight? Because I actually have not heard anything.
I didn't get anything, no lineup or nothing.
Okay, I haven't heard the lineup yet either. I don't even know where they're going for the next pay-per-view. A lot of people seem to think it's Austin Undertaker. I don't think that's where they're going, but they may be. I think it may be Austin and Rock again, but I guess tonight's show will probably at least set the stage of where they're going next. I got the impression that Angle and Benoit, everyone loved that match as far as WWF higher-ups, so I think they're going to be able to do a program. In fact, I know that they're talking about doing a 30-minute Iron Man match on the next pay-per-view. That's, maybe they'll even talk about it on the show tonight. I don't know.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Man, when they came out there, it was like, I guess 9 o'clock Eastern. It was 6 o'clock over here, and I thought, man, this thing's going till, it's going 4 hours. These guys are out here already. They're going to get like half hour, 45 minutes. I thought it was going to be one of those deals where, just for the hell of it, they go, these guys are going to have a great match. Let's just give them a bunch of time. And It was only about 15 minutes, but it was a hell of a 15 minutes, and I thought, if they got like 45 minutes or something, or even a half hour, just especially with the reaction that they got for doing the wrestling and everything like that, that'd be a hell of a match.
Yeah, probably. The one thing, Benoit matches usually are better under 20 minutes, though. And it's like certain guys have better matches that go long, and certain guys have better matches that go short, and then other guys are in the middle. And Benoit's always been really a guy in the middle. Angle, have we ever seen, what's the long, Angle's probably longest is probably about 25 minutes that we've seen. I think Angle and Triple H went 25 minutes a couple months ago on pay-per-view. And that was a very good match, but it wasn't like, I don't remember it being off the charts or anything. It's tough to go over 20 if you're not in the main event. I guess Benoit,
the thing with that match last night to me was, it was like it ended too early. It was like there was so much more that they could have done in that match. And I think that if they did a match where they did more of the mat wrestling there at the beginning and stretched out the middle section and then did some more near falls at the end, they could go 30 minutes easy.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Those guys, they got great chemistry together. Let's see. There is a press release from Tokyo Pop, which of course is the American licensee for FMW, and they are announcing that they are reviewing the recently announced purchase of WCW by the WWF, citing possible violations of the Sherman Antitrust Act. Tokyo Pop fears that combining the nation's two largest wrestling leagues will impede competition and significantly reduce the number of options available to consumers. Well, it does significantly reduce the options available to consumers, but that's not so much by WWF as much as by the television networks. WWF eliminated one. Actually, by buying, they eliminated one that was going to go out of business anyway, because once the TV network thing, of course, that whole, I tell you, when I look back on this TV network thing, it's very interesting, because the WWF entered into negotiations to buy WCW about 3.5 weeks before they bought it. Now, the announcement by Jamie Kellner of canceling the TV time came after the WWF had already gone into negotiations again, and it was well known the WWF could not buy it with that TV time. So there may be more to that TV cancellation than meets the eye, and there's a lot of things that were said to me that I wasn't thinking about at the time, but looking back, I'm starting to remember. And I can tell you that when the WWF went back to negotiate, I don't know if it was Brad Siegel, but it was whoever was negotiating with Stuart Snyder of the World Wrestling Federation, told them point blank, and this is before the cancellation of the TV times was made, that they would not be selling it to Fusion, even though Fusion didn't know they wouldn't be selling it until literally, Tuesday. It was a Tuesday of last week when they finally couldn't get the TV time from Fox. Mm-hmm. So I think there's more to this than meets the eye.
Well, actually, if you look at the timeline, WWF started negotiating, 3.5 weeks before the purchase?
Yes.
And Kellner was in 2 weeks before the cancellation. So, it's right about the same time.
Right about the same time.
Maybe Kellner came in just a little bit later, which if that's the case, that's pretty weird. Why would they enter negotiations? Because that was the whole reason the deal fell through the first time. The TV.
So it may have been that WCW or that Time Warner did not want to sell it to Fusion because they thought that they weren't going to have the money to operate it and that it was going to be a big mess and they wanted no part of the mess. And they just wanted to sell it to WWF, figuring that there would be no mess with WWF. They would just sell it. And they were willing to give up the TV time to do so as a negotiating ploy of the WWF because it's the only way they could buy it.
But why would they be worried if Fusion bought it if the TV was... I guess the TV
because
was...
they were going to be part owner. They were going to be part owners, and they would be partially responsible if Fusion couldn't pay the bills.
Yeah,
they were going to be 12% owners, remember?
Yeah.
So maybe that's it. Anyway,
maybe?
I was just thinking about that. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thing there. Anyway, Tokyo Pop's issues go beyond a concern for the industry as a whole to concern about the welfare of the individual wrestlers who will be affected by the merger, as well as the impending demise of ECW. FMW's relationship goes back several years with such veterans as Mick Foley, Terry Funk, and others who fought in Japan and are featured in Tokyo Pop's DVD and VHS releases. I'm not sure what that has to do with anything. It's important to Tokyo Pop and FMW that the wrestlers be treated with the respect they deserve after their long years of service and not become victims of another mega merger downsizing. As a small company, FMW and Tokyo Pop have no illusions about taking Vince McMahon and his empire to court. David will never beat Goliath in a lawsuit. He beat him with a rock to the head, said somebody in there. Shigatsu Suitachi, the interim wrestling ambassador. Is it like Steve Regal? Oh, this is ridiculous. Now they start talking about a hardcore death match between the two leagues. Okay, see you later. That was pretty stupid there.
That'll solve the problems.
Yeah. A hardcore match, that's just wonderful. Let's see. Any other news to get to? There's literally, there's no news in wrestling. I mean, except for the fact that we just had Mania and we were in the middle of the biggest news story. I think that none of the WCW guys.
And as far as American wrestling, when there's not a WWF story, there will be no news.
I know. That's about it. That's about right. EMLL had their pay-per-view. Perro Aguayo ended up going out on a stretcher in his final match, which is not a way to end your career. So I got a feeling that he's probably coming back. He got his head shaved against Universo dos Mil. What happened, it was the dreaded Martinete, Tombstone Piledriver, with a lot of distraction and everything like that. And Aguayo was knocked unconscious since they sell that move, huge over in Mexico.
Like it's death.
It's next to death, that's right. So he's out, and then they shaved his head and took him out on a stretcher, and that was supposed to be contractually his last match in Mexico City. And, it's amazing because that was a great finish, and the reason I say that is because everybody was so sick of Perro Aguayo's retirement tour, although they did sell out on Friday night. And now it's like all those people who were sick of it, they really want him to come back for revenge because nobody wants this guy after 31 years in the ring for his last appearance, at the number one arena in Mexico to be, stretchered out with his head shaved.
I don't mind.
What?
I don't mind.
Yeah, well, I could live without seeing him. He's really declined a lot in the last couple of years. Hopefully, from when I gathered, the pay-per-view there was pretty good. So, and All Japan taped their first television show also yesterday. And that'll air in a Friday night time slot on Nippon TV. So, not All Japan, Pro Wrestling Noah.
All Japan? Okay.
No, Pro Wrestling Noah. I was mistaken there. I've been watching some of their tapes, and they got a good company. I mean, when they get TV, some of those younger guys with exposure, Marufuji's really good. Morishima's got some promise. Takashi Sugiura is really good. I mean, for a guy who's probably been in about 3-4 months. I think he debuted December. So, yeah, like 4 months in. He's going to be really good. He's, I don't want to say he's another Kurt Angle because that's unfair because we'll probably never see another one quite like that. But that is the one who they compare him to over there, because of the amateur background and small guy with great suplexes and already like a good worker. So it's tough. It's a tough market. They're in a big recession too. So we'll see. Let's see. What other stuff? Any other stuff to go through?
Who's training everybody over there?
I guess just the same. Misawa, Akiyama, all of them. I think they do a good job. They've turned out some great talent. But they teach them. They teach them that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Practice, and they teach them a lot of respect for the profession.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Start with Dave Galvin, who goes, I must admit there were only 2 things I didn't care for about WrestleMania last night. One was the ending of Benoit Angle. I thought it was all right. I can't help but feel Benoit should have gotten the win. He will. Don't worry. 2 was the fact that there should have been more of a WCW presence to show. Actually, I think there should have been no WCW presence to show based on how they handled it. I thought
Especially
that was
the way they did it, yeah.
I thought that was a big mistake. Seeing the lame 10 or so wrestlers in the cheap seats did nothing to wet my mouth for the product. Yeah, I think it was totally counterproductive. The deal
they were kind of stuck, though, if they wanted to put anybody on the show, because it's like, if you put those guys in the front row, everybody's going to expect somebody to jump the rail. And, of course, you don't want them to do that. But, otherwise you put them up in the cheap seats, and it looks like they're just a bunch of geeks.
Yeah, but, they didn't even have, like saying who they were. I mean, you saw these guys, and it's like, you sort of, there's Lance Storm, there's Sean Stasiak.
Yeah.
And there were
the generic WCW wrestlers written underneath them.
Yeah, and they were, and there was no star power there.
Yeah.
Which to me is really, that's really going to be tough on this interpromotional thing because if they don't have the stars, you can build some of those guys against WWF and have dream matches, but not any of the guys that they signed. Not of the 24 guys they signed, there's none of them. Mike Awesome was bigger when he was in ECW. WCW took him down a notch. So, and there's no big money right now. in Mike Awesome against, The Rock. I mean, and I don't know that there will be. I mean, he's all right, but anyway, let's see. I couldn't help but want to see Flair or Booker T come out and at least cut a 2-minute promo. Yeah, you know what though, that would be too soon. And Flair, who knows? One thing I want to mention, we talked about this a little bit on Friday, and that is, these guys that we talk about. I mean, there's a lot of rumors about what guys are going to be offered as it comes to a buyout, and what guys are going to be offered by WWF. And ultimately, the guys are going to make their decision based on those two offers. If they can make, more money, enough more money by going to WWF, if they make less money and have to go on the road, work, and take bumps, that's kind of a bad deal. And that may be how it turns out. But nobody knows because no one's been offered buyouts, and none of those guys have been offered, have really been talked with about WWF. WWF has not done a lot of work on this because they had to get ready for WrestleMania. And in the next 2 weeks, they're really going to start working on this WCW project. Aside from the 23 or 24 guys that they've signed, there's nothing else that's really official. I mean, they have not signed any writers. They have not even really discussed it. Referees, they need a front office. Production crew. I mean, I think they're going to use a lot of the WWF production crew an extra day on the Wednesdays. One thing a lot of the upper card wrestlers or the high dollar guys need to think about is how much longer they have on their current WCW deal. Because if it's a guy like Goldberg that wants to do something in this business someday, and he's got like 3 years left, 3 years is a hell of a lot of time in wrestling. And if it's a guy maybe like, I don't even know how long Paige has left, but say he has 10 months left, he can sit that 10 months out, and in 10 months people are still going to remember him. But I think it's all going to depend on how long it's going to be. 3 years is so long. Look at 3 years ago in wrestling. What was it, 97 or 98? It's like an eternity. Yeah, but the longer you're out, the more your myth grows. I mean, look at like when a guy like Warrior or Sid Vicious or those guys are gone forever. When they come back, people forget just how horrible they really were.
Yeah, but there's a certain amount of time where there's such a turnover in the audience that it doesn't really mean anything.
But Goldberg's got a name, though. I think, and plus, you got to remember 3 years from now, there may be, I mean, you don't know what the state of the business will be. They may be begging for a guy to come in and draw some money. And the fact that he once did, you know how that goes, like that's how Sid keeps getting his jobs. Is that, some companies.
Sid's another one that'll be back.
I don't know about Sid being back. I don't think that Sid's going to go to the WWF ever. For one, he's old. He's coming back from a broken leg, and he did not leave there on very good terms. And, we talk about, certain guys, like the Leopards don't change their spots very often. Sometimes they do. Sometimes people do grow up. But Sid, what was it? Sid walked out on that, after the Starrcade pay-per-view, he walked out because he didn't like what he was doing on TV or something, right? Mm-hmm. Then he came back, they kissed his ass and put him in the main event on the next pay-per-view. And it's like, granted, that really speaks volumes for that company and why that company went out of business. But,
the fact that come and gone from WWF, though.
Yeah, but I think the last one was the last one. I mean, because you got to remember, this is a different WWF now. That WWF from before was very much like WCW, where they acquiesced to star power. I mean, Shawn Michaels is the perfect example. I mean, Shawn did all that stuff that he's doing now years ago, and, they just kissed his ass, you know what I mean, and kept bringing him back because he was a star. Now, they don't even give him a second thought. It's like, they don't need him. And I don't see them, Shawn's got a lot more of an upside and a lot more of a name than Sid Vicious. I just don't see, again, if business gets really terrible, of course they'll get desperate and try to get him. But I really believe that, I don't know what he could do in this business anymore. I mean, because the independents, are not a major factor. I'm sure he'll get a job when somebody wants to start something up, and lose a lot of money that, like signs like the Kevin Nashes and all these guys. If that ever happens, that Sid will be one of the first people they call. But as far as WWF, I don't see it in this, unless things drastically change in the business.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. It goes, I can't help but believe Stone Cold turning heel is the best thing they could have done. While it was obvious the Texas crowd didn't want to believe or recognize the turn, I think JR and Paul did a great job on the announcing. One of the guys sitting next to me at the party I was at said, I can't believe that SOB sold out, proving to me it was a successful turn. We don't know. I mean, like, the Goldberg
I think we talked about it yesterday. The people at home, are going to go for it a lot easier than the people in Texas, just because you had Ross and Heyman. Ross was working so hard last night to get that heel turn over. I mean, throughout the whole match, before everything even happened, it was like every time Austin would do something, Ross, he wouldn't really, bury him or anything like that, but he'd make comments like, I can't believe that Austin's doing this, that sort of thing. So I think it'll work. Not tonight.
You don't know, though. I mean, you don't know. I mean, I know that last night there was a lot of concern because of, it was like 4 years now. Well, it's been 4 years since WrestleMania 97, right? When the big turn was made. So for 4 years, he's the guy who built the company, from a very, relatively minorly successful, even unsuccessful financially company to what it is today. The last couple of years he's had help, but the big turnaround was largely on the back of Steve Austin. And a lot of people came into wrestling with Steve Austin as their, idol. And, there's, like with Bill Goldberg, with Ric Flair, sometimes these turns, even when the guy's good at it, you run that risk of, do I want to pay $40 to boo this guy who I like? You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like they're real good, and they're obviously better than WCW, but I mean, like, Ric Flair is a really good heel, but every time Ric Flair turned heel, it was a financial disaster for the company because people didn't want to pay money to boo Ric Flair. It was really all there was to it. It was the best WrestleMania I ever saw. WrestleMania's more... I'm trying to look back and think about this. More often than not, they're disappointments. Some of them have been really good. But this one was probably... had the highest expectations going in as far as a whole card. I think the one... I mean, I know as a fan... the WrestleMania where Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels did the 60-minute match, the day before, a couple of days before, for that match, I had really high expectations. I thought it was going to be one of the greatest matches I would ever see, and I don't think it was. But it was an excellent match, but it was not quite that good. I didn't have that feeling for any of the matches on this show, but as a show overall, I mean, I expected, far better than that night in L.A. So, this is...
There's just always so much expectation going into every WrestleMania because they hype it up forever, and it's like... Everyone expects it to be the show of the year, and it's one of those things where even if every year it wasn't the show of the year, just because it's WrestleMania, people would expect it to be, and this year they delivered, top to bottom,
this is,
for the most part.
For the most part. I just got back from Houston. I traveled from Boston. Few thoughts personally. It was the greatest wrestling fans weekend. The fan festival was awesome. I got to ride 2 roller coasters with Mick Foley at Six Flags. On to WrestleMania. It was by far the greatest WF pay-per-view ever. The crowd was so intense, the entire show was just unbelievable. It was by far the biggest wrestling crowd I've ever been to. The deal with Austin was not working at all live. People were popping huge for Austin. Even after the show was over, when The Rock walked off by himself, he got booed out of the building. This is another person who saw it differently. He goes, I just want to give you a live perspective. Booker T was there, Hugh Morris, Mark Jindrak, Sean O'Hare. There were some Austin chants near me, but the crowd was 50-50. Nah, no way that crowd was 50-50. I heard
Wait a second, Booker T was there?
That's what it says.
Why wouldn't they put Booker T on TV of all people?
I didn't see Booker T, but I was expecting that he was going to be there, and they never showed him on TV. Let's see. That's pretty much all it says. But that crowd was not 50-50. I mean, at least when the show was on. Is there any chance of getting Scott Hudson on your show? Yes, there's a chance. Good chance, even. I thought WrestleMania was great. It probably would have been the best pay-per-view I ever saw, if not for a very subpar match from Jericho and Regal. It's not that it was bad, but they could have done so much more than they did. They tried to work psychology into it, and it was too short, so it seemed worthless. Otherwise, 4 3-star matches, Benoit Angle, Tables, Ladders, and Chairs, Helmsley, Undertaker, and Austin Rock made for an incredible show. One thing I want to mention, I thought you might know, but I'm very disappointed by a faster the security forces sign policy. During the Hunter Hearst Helmsley Undertaker match, I saw 3 different signs that said so-and-so is gay. 2 of them were Triple H, and 1 was, I don't know who else. Now, I'm not going to get an ethical debate about homosexuality, and being one myself, I'm sure I picked up on it when others might not have, but it seemed to me having such derogatory signs in plain view of the camera for 30 seconds combined would be something they would try to avoid. I'm sure a lot of the homophobia it portrayed is prevalent among a lot of W fans, but still, why allow them to tick off many viewers who did notice and were offended? It seems like an unnecessary risk to me. Okay. It's just, I don't know, signs like that are a part of the wrestling mentality. It's not one of the good parts of the wrestling mentality. They are not all.
Did he say they were confiscated?
No, he said they were not.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. This is Ways to Make Austin be heel. It's from Jamal Alam. Sure, it'll ruin his marriage, but have Deborah cheat with someone else. Marriages are meant to be broken up in pro wrestling anyway. Have Austin injure Foley on Raw. A lot of people have suggested that one, by the way. Have Austin attack Foley because the fans love Foley. I'm expecting Tuesday night at SmackDown that Austin beats up JR, in Oklahoma City. I don't. No one's told me that. I just see that one coming. Have him dress up.
The problem with Austin is through his whole babyface career, he always stuns the good guys and he always gets the big pop. So, he stuns Foley right now. Great. He's been stunning people forever.
Yeah, and he stunned Foley as a babyface many times.
Yeah.
And he stunned Ross as a babyface, many times. Or not many times, but he did it. Let's see. Have him dress up in a suit and drink champagne with William Regal. That would be funny. Have him grow his hair back and become stunning Steve Austin. I don't think he can do that anymore. Call Vince Russo and Eric Bischoff and ask them for how to get Goldberg over as a heel notebook. No. What do you think about Shane doing RVD's move? Slap in the face by Shane, Vince, or Paul Lee? Some of them. Where was Chris Jericho born, in New York or Canada? Wasn't he born in New York, Chris Jericho? His father played for
the wrong guy.
I think he was born in New York, but I'm not sure. Who trained Kevin Nash? Was he trained at Power Plant?
I don't think so. Maybe, actually.
I mean, he was trained.
I don't think so.
He was trained in Atlanta, though. I mean, he was a bouncer at the strip club, and all those guys saw him, the giant bouncer, and they talked him into doing pro wrestling. I mean, he was trained in Atlanta. I don't know. I should know that too. Let's see. What was your view on the gimmick?
Nobody wants to take credit.
WCW on Saturday night is a good slot for me because I used to watch WCW Worldwide for the comedy of Hudson and Tenay and ECW Hardcore, so now I can watch WCW instead. It says, why didn't Booker T show up at Mania? Maybe he did. Hey, was Booker T there? We got one letter saying that he was. Can you talk about Iron Sheik's condition? You talk about him not being able to take bumps. What are the exact reasons besides that he's really old? I think his knees are shot. I think his body is shot. Why the huge gut? I just think he's just shot.
He eats a lot.
The thing with him, though, is he had the huge gut even when he trained. I think it's just some weird genetic thing.
Uh-huh.
Although, when Iron Sheik started pro wrestling, and he was, old already. I mean, he didn't start at a young age, because he's 63 now. And he would have started, let me see. He would have started around 72, because he started around the same time as Flair, so that's 29 years ago, which means he would have been 34 when he started, which is not young to start, which is actually quite amazing that he started at 34 and had such a good career. But he had a totally flat stomach. He had, the best abs in the business practically at that time. And he was, about a 190-pound guy. And then he just got, he was pregnant. And, last night, I was ready for him to give birth. Let's see. Did you notice the huge negative reaction to Shane when he mentioned the WCW guys? Everyone did. This doesn't bode well for the new show, does it? A lot of things do not, no. It's too bad Vince doesn't want to upset his salary structure and bring in the guys that would get WCW over. At this rate, the biggest star is going to be the owner. Yeah, you know what? The biggest star is going to be the owner. Let's see. I was saddened to hear the reaction some of the participants in the Gimmick Battle Royal got from the crowd. Some of these superstars were big superstars in their time, yet most of the new fans have no idea who they were. How would they?
Why is that sad, though?
Because they never talk about history. Why would it be sad? Some of the wrestlers were involved as little as 8 years ago. A lot of the fans, let's face it, the WWF was doing, 2 ratings in 1997, 96, 97, which is 4 years ago. And now they're doing, 5s, and at one time they were doing, high 6s and occasional 7. So the vast majority of fans were not fans 4 years ago, let alone 8 years ago. I wish that the new fans would pay attention to the past and legends like they do in other sports. I agree.
Yeah, but how did they do that, though? There's no, unless you go back and find a bunch of really old videos that, I don't even know if you can get them at the video store. You're not going to get it from the WWF. You're not going to go to the bookstore and find, a WWF book on the history of the Federation or anything like that.
Well, the other thing, too, is in WWF commentary, except last night they did mention some old names as it fit into the storyline, but when you listen to a baseball game, they'll talk about your stars of other generations, freely. So if you live in San Francisco, all of the stars in the history of the Giants in San Francisco, going back to the 50s, are talked about during the season if you listen to the game or watch the games on television. They pay homage to their, that's one of the things baseball has going for it. And football, they have all the films and everything like that. Basketball, they do that. Wrestling, has killed its history. because the guy who owns it wants to rewrite it to his own needs, and so whatever.
Just an example. We're talking about Dory Funk Jr. last night. How's any fan that just started watching in '97 supposed to know who Dory Funk Jr. is? How are they supposed to get footage of him? It's not going to be in a WWF magazine or anything like that, or they're not going to show footage on Superstars or anything. There's nothing they can do.
Or Jack Briscoe when they were comparing him to Kurt Angle. Who's going to know Jack Briscoe today?
If he showed up, everyone would just go, who's that guy?
Is it for certain SummerSlam will be in San Jose? Yes. Will you be attending if this is the case? That is a good question. If we're doing a show right afterwards, like we did last night, I probably won't be attending. But if we don't, then I'm sure I will. Let's see. There's an article on WWF.com about the Gimmick Battle Royal. It says the reason that One Man Gang was not Akeem was because he could not fit into the Akeem costume because of all the weight he's lost. I didn't know that.
Oh. He actually was pretty trim. Some of those guys, even like John Tenta looked really trim.
Tenta's lost a lot of weight.
Trim for Tenta.
Yeah. I'm not surprised but saddened that
Goon looked like a fan.
Yeah. Yeah, really. Would you rate any match from WrestleMania 17 better than either Owen Brett or Heartbreak Kid Razor Ramon from WrestleMania 10? No, I don't think I would. I would rate both of those matches better than anything on the last night's show. Would you?
No.
Okay. It's from Ryan. Do you know if Portland Wrestling is ever going to be putting on any more shows, and are you going to work there?
I don't think they're doing any shows in the near future, and actually I haven't even heard anything from Portland Wrestling, so probably not.
Let's see, where was Pete Rose? I guess they just didn't sign him. I guess they just figured that they had other things to do, that the tradition has gone long enough, and there's just nothing new to do. Let's see. Everybody seems to be saying WrestleMania was one of the best pay-per-views ever, and it was awesome. But what I don't think is why nobody ever talks about ECW Heatwave 98. From top to bottom, was one of the greatest pay-per-views ever. That was a hell of a show. That was. Do you know what role Michaels was supposed to have at Mania? Do you know, Brian? I don't know. I
have no idea.
Let's see. Isn't it ironic that they ignore Bret Hart in the WWF? I mean, last night's main event had Bret Hart written all over it. Oh, God, I know. All those false finishes from the Bret Hart-Steve Austin matches. And then
I know. From that, they did the Survivor Series finish. Pushing off the turnbuckles in the $1 Million Dream.
Yeah.
And the WrestleMania deal with him and the sharpshooter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like the big, vivid image they were playing off of, yeah. And they never mentioned his name.
It's kind of strange if you're trying to turn Austin heel, do that spot again.
Yeah. Al, who's the first caller? Because I cannot read that. Oh, Ray. Okay, Ray from New York is up first. Hey, Ray, what's going on?
Hi.
Hey, Ray.
This is Razor up in New York. Just wanted to ask you a few things. First off, what the hell happened to the Gooker's outfit?
In what sense? I guess I wasn't paying close enough attention.
Maybe he lost too much weight to fit in too.
The Gooker had no feathers left, man.
They probably built the outfit about 10 years ago, and maybe those feathers just kind of fell off.
Yeah, well, he had the thing won. If it weren't for the Iron Sheik being too out of shape to go over the top rope, I think the Gooker should have had that one.
To think they actually kept that Gooker costume for 10 years.
Really?
I'm shocked. I mean, I'm shocked. You would think that, like, if it, I think probably was Hector Guerrero.
Vince himself would have burned it that night.
I know. Everyone forgets that gimmick was like, I mean, I guess maybe they don't forget, but that gimmick was like the flop of all flops.
Oh, I know.
I mean, that was like the WWF equivalent to Oz.
Well, yeah, okay. I don't remember Oz because I've always been pretty anti-WCW, but
that was Kevin Nash's one of his first gimmicks.
Oh, no.
He came out as the Great and Powerful Oz, and everybody booed like crazy, and then it was time for a new gimmick, and I think he was.
Yeah, no, I've seen Oz. It's just that's one of the reasons why I never watched WCW was because of that. I remember it, in other words. So, but well, aside of the Gooker being robbed out of his Rumble win or Battle Royal win or whatever they're calling it, my only other question was this: is why do you think that Vince McMahon, and maybe you answered this, I just tuned in about 15 minutes ago, but why do you think the booking committee or whoever chose to try to turn Austin heel as opposed to The Rock? Because I could see The Rock getting over as a heel a lot easier.
I think they just thought it was time after 4 years. It's kind of that mentality in wrestling that you 4 years is so long that you have to make a turn.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it was the right one or not, I think that the feeling was, for most of last year, that Rock was so popular that the thing to do is to turn Austin. And then it really was only in the last few weeks where it looked like maybe that was the wrong decision, but the battle, the plan had already been laid out by then, so they just decided that, we're going to go with our plan, and we're just going to do it our way.
But don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm usually one of the guys who likes to watch the heels beat up on the faces. So seeing Austin as a heel was definitely refreshing last night. I thought it was great. But I just kind of thought that since The Rock got booed so much earlier on, it'd be easier to do it with him. But you're right. I guess it was time for the change,
I think Rock's whole character is going to make it easier for him to get over as a heel than Austin.
Right.
Yeah, well, they started to change that. I mean, you noticed, like, on that SmackDown show, I think it was, or the Raw, I forget which one, but, I mean, with that guy, I saw those subtle changes in the last week in The Rock's character. I mean, they knew why people were booing him outside of Texas, and they worked to change it. In the last week on the TV, they were getting 50-50 reactions, as opposed to the week before where, there were the Die Rocky Die signs that they had to confiscate at the buildings.
Hey, did you get that whole package WWE sent out with, like, the DVD and everything like that?
Did I?
It was like biographies of everybody.
Yes, I did.
The biography of The Rock, I was just glancing over it, and they actually acknowledged the Die Rocky Die chants. I thought that was so strange in a press release about this guy's, his career. It's like they're talking about his debut, and fans didn't, they didn't go for him, and they chanted Die Rocky Die, so he had to tweak the character a little bit.
You know what was funny about that, though? That's another sort of rewriting of history, in that the fans initially, I remember his first match, they chanted his name at the Garden. And, they went for him. What killed him...
He was just being pushed down their throat.
What killed him is when he won the Intercontinental title from Hunter because people thought he wasn't ready. And then it was that Eric Watts thing where it was like, okay, they're shoving this guy down our throat. He's clearly not ready. And that's why the people turned on him. If they had not over-pushed him, I don't know that the people would have turned on him. And actually, he probably wouldn't have gotten as far as he did. One thing that was really funny, and it also goes to show about, about was it the Slammies or whatever, or the credibility of the Slammies. The first year that Rock and Austin started in the WWF the same year, and they had like a poll in the Slammies for the best newcomer, and Austin, was over, he didn't get over the first 6 months, but after that he was over like crazy, and The Rock won the poll, and I saw that, and Rock was, this was before the fans had turned completely on Rock, but they were starting to a little bit. But, clearly, he was at one level, and Austin was about 7 levels ahead, and I'm just thinking, like, yeah, the fans voted for Rock over Austin for, the best newcomer this year, sure.
Before I got the phone, there was one other thing that was on my mind. I'm not sure if you'd have any information on this, but do you think Shawn Michaels is pretty much done now? He screwed up his chance, it sounds like. I wasn't there.
It sounds like that he's done, yeah. Like for a while anyway. He'll probably he'll probably get another shot at some point, but it's probably going to be a long way down the road. And
just look at it this way. He cut that promo on Bite This, and they took him off TV for almost a year.
Yeah.
And this was not cutting a promo. This was other problems. So.
Well, the thing is I don't get smacked on anymore because the idiots at UPN let Warner Brothers buy him out, so I just get to watch Raw. I don't know what goes on at SmackDown or anything anymore. So I just heard he kind of stormed out of the tapings or something, but I wasn't sure if he stormed out or if he showed up stoned or something. I don't know what's going on. I didn't know if you guys...
Well, he never appeared on TV, so when he got to the building, they sent him home.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks a lot for your time, and I'll talk to you later.
This is from Steve, who says, to say this WrestleMania was by far better than any other Mania is absurd. This year's Mania had 5 gimmick matches, tables, ladders, and chairs, Battle Royal, the main event was no DQ with tons of interference, and the hardcore match. It's really sad you can't put over a main event with just the top stars putting on a wrestling match. They could have actually, but they didn't. But they could have. WrestleMania 3, 5, 6, and 10 were far better. Okay, 3, the main event of WrestleMania 3 was one of the worst matches in the history of wrestling. It had one great match, Savage and Steamboat, awesome match, and it was a good show, but it was not anywhere close to the caliber of this show. WrestleMania 5 was a terrible show. 6 was Toronto Skydome, right?
Yeah,
that was a good show.
Hogan
and Warrior. That was a good show. It wasn't anything close to this show. And 10 had 2 phenomenal matches, better than anything on this show, but this show had a much better undercard. Let's see, had more good matches too. let's see. This is from Larry, who goes, I just tuned in. I was hoping to see Shawn Michaels. When are we going to see him? Probably
Don't hold your breath.
Not for a long time. Shawn blew his chance. Let's see. The reason that they didn't name any WCW wrestlers and that none of the major stars were there was the WWF was afraid they might get some heat, which would detract from the show.
They can name them on commentary.
Yeah, if they were way up there, it wasn't gonna. They did. It is true they did not want people like chanting for any wrestler or anything like that. They really. There were a lot of people who did not want any WCW guys on the show, and then others felt that they had to be there because the fans were expecting it. So that was the compromise they worked out, which, quite frankly, it was. I think.
What a compromise, though. If you're expecting WCW guys on the show, I'm sure what you're expecting is, Booker T coming to the ring with Shane McMahon. Not these guys just appearing on TV in the cheap seats, unidentified. Added nothing to the show and took away from those guys.
Yeah, and took away from the whole interpromotional feud because now it seems just so low rent. What do you think about Jeff Bagwell saying these guys are great actors at WrestleMania? I would consider that a compliment. Let's see. How old is the Iron Sheik? He is 63. Did he win a gold medal in the Olympics? No, he was never in the Olympics. That's one of wrestling's great legends. This is from Gene Okerlund. I think still thinks he was in the Olympics. Remember he brought that up? Or maybe Gene was just being facetious. I think Gene may have just been. Is the payout the wrestlers receive at WrestleMania a flat amount up front or a percentage of the gate and pay-per-view buys? I'm guessing, not knowing for sure, that the guys in the Battle Royal probably just got like a flat fee, But most of the wrestlers will get a percentage of the gate and the pay-per-view buys, except for the guys in that heat match, which will only get a percentage of the live gate, not a percentage of the pay-per-view. It's from Dan, who goes, I thought the main event was awesome. Me and my friends have not popped from near falls like that in a long time. I was jumping out of my seats for each one. I love the heel turn. It's a shot in the arm the WF needs. Austin's been a face for 4 years. It's time for a change. I think that the turn has already been moderately successful, that people were talking about wrestling at my school for the first time in months. Imagine the wonderment of WCW wrestlers looking over a crowd of 65,000 people, the total sum amount of their house shows for the past year. It's true. Let's see. WCW did about 100 house shows and averaged 3,000 people. So they did about 300,000 people for the year. But that's actually. The thing is, it was not that many years ago, 3 to be exact, that WCW put 40,000 in the Georgia Dome, which isn't 65, but it's a hell of a lot of people. Not all that long ago.
Nitro.
For Nitro, not even not for WrestleMania, exactly.
And look at how many times Raw's gone to the Georgia. I guess Raw isn't based in Georgia, but look at how many times they've gone to the Georgia Dome, and
but that doesn't matter.
Not even come close to that.
Yeah, they usually do 22 to about 26,000. That's right. I don't think I think the first time they went, did they do 30 the first time? I think they did like about 20, maybe it was a little under 30.
Yeah, it was close.
Ross kept saying 30,000, and maybe the real number was like 26 or 27. So yeah, they never did 40, which WCW did a little over 40 for the first one, and then the one finger touch one was like about 35 to 38. So they did a big one there, and then of course that one finger touch.
It's all downhill from there.
Yeah, that was a dumb move, and boy, I remember that night going, you're going to come back here and you're not going to be able to sell tickets, and that's kind of what happened. Let's see. Someone goes, I thought WrestleMania was great, but the stupid ending of the main event and the waste of time of the women's title match. Last night when Saturn came out with Eddie Guerrero, it looked so much like Hulk Hogan, it was scary. I don't think it looked like Hulk Hogan.
I thought it was Bagwell when I saw the top hat.
Yeah, I know. Bagwell I know. What will be the main event at Backlash? I don't know. We'll probably find out tonight. At this point, what will you do with Jericho? Turn him heel? Why hasn't WWF had any more pay-per-views in England? Because they do pay-per-view. They do British-only pay-per-views anyway. Not to say that they won't at some time. They may. Were they teasing the beginning of an Undertaker retirement last night? I don't think so. Let's see.
He won.
Yeah. Let's go to the calls. Let's start with Matt in New Orleans. Matt, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going, Dave? Brian?
Hey.
It's going really good.
You just brought up China, and I just want to say that I think her ego is going to be absolutely out of control in the WWF. And I think last night the way she treated Ivory was so disrespectful that made me sick.
It wasn't even Ivory. It was Ivory and everything that they set up for her for this match.
The neck injury,
the big comeback.
It's like I'm not selling. She didn't sell in the match, and she didn't sell her injury.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that just so when I was listening to your show last night and you commented on that, I don't know, it just made me sick to watch. As I'm an independent worker down here, just like Brian is up there. So, I'm real conscious about how when you go over on somebody, you do it in a respectful way, not to kill them. And just the way she laid across her, that really that pissed me off more than anything on the show. Mm-hmm. I thought the show overall was really great, though. It just lacks the one really standout match that puts it like WrestleMania 10 had the two standout matches that were that made it stand out in everyone's mind.
I thought there were 3 standout matches. I mean, there wasn't a match, like a Bret Hart Owen Hart match or that ladder match, but
I meant like a match of the year candidate.
I thought that the TLC was pretty close, and I thought that Austin Rock was pretty darn good too. I mean, but you're right. I mean, as far as like the match of the year, I don't think we saw it last night. I think the Benoit Jericho ladder match was probably better than anything on the show last night.
Agreed. Benoit Jericho, that was here in New Orleans, and I watched it on TV, but coming into work the next day, I had several people there, and really they talked about that more than anything else. So that match was over huge live, I guess. I thought that was the best match of the year in the WWF so far, in my opinion.
Maybe.
But I'm not going to take it.
That in I think Austin and Hunter at the last pay-per-view was awfully good too.
Agreed. What do you think as far as the Austin heel turn? I got to say, the only way they're going to turn him fully heel in Texas, if he comes out and just acts, he can't be Stone Cold. He's got to do something like come out in a shirt and tie. If he blows off Texas and says he's moving to Connecticut, really if he comes out drinking a soda,
he'll get heat. All he has to do is insult Texas and he'll get heat.
Yeah. I don't think they need to worry about Texas so much as just the rest of the country. I mean, if it becomes a deal where he's a big heel all over the country and then he gets cheered in Texas, it's not going to matter for those 2 days they're there.
Well, I think I'm just saying that if he tries to keep turning heel tonight and the fans live don't buy it, I don't think they're going to buy it in a lot of the other places, like when they do SmackDown on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're in Oklahoma on Tuesday.
Where's Oklahoma, right?
Oklahoma City, yeah.
Yeah.
But thanks for taking my call, guys, and been reading the Observer since '96, Dave, and you do a great job.
Thank you very much.
And I couldn't have caught my letters too, so I'll keep reading. Thanks a lot.
Okay, let's go to Dan in Chicago. Dan, what's going on?
Hey guys, what's going on? Saw WrestleMania last night. I like the Austin heel turn. I know a way to get Austin over that would make him a good heel. He could shave the people's eyebrow.
That's right. Someone's going to do that.
That angle has not been done yet, and the day will come.
Someone's going to do that.
And I gotta correct you guys.
The 2 angles on Rock is shave the eyebrow and do something to his throat where he can't talk for 2 months. No, really, that's awesome.
But you know what though? The thing with the Rock is just standing there with a mic in his hand.
Yeah.
He'll get just a tremendous ovation.
Yeah. Well, I just thought that'd be kind of funny though. But I gotta correct you guys on the Bret Hart stuff. They did talk. Jim Ross did talk about Bret Hart when The Rock had the sharpshooter on Austin. He's like, this just shades of WrestleMania 13 with Bret Hart.
He did say that. That's
yeah,
right.
he did, because I had said it to my friend, and then as soon as I said it, JR said it.
And I figured like a lightning bolt would strike him dead too.
So I just thought I'd let you guys know that. You should go back and take a look at that.
He did say it. That's true.
Maybe Vince just went insane on the headset.
Yeah, I don't know, but I expected Goldberg there. I know you guys think I'm crazy on that one, but I kind of think
you got to listen to the show.
Yeah, but you think you don't think he's going to come on out WWF
soon?
Soon, yeah.
I mean, if they want him, he will. If they don't want him bad enough, he won't. It's in their the ball's in their court, not his. He's going to do the right thing for him.
Yeah, the thing is,
and it's up to them. If they want him bad enough, they'll do the right thing to get him. And if they don't want him bad enough, then he won't be there.
Can I make a point about
sure.
the WCW guys there at WrestleMania? I think it was a good idea for them there, but it was kind of funny that the camera guy didn't know where they were at. Did you kind of notice that?
Oh, it was like watching WCW.
Yeah.
It was so hokey. It was like they had the WCW camera crew there filming that spot.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't get a guy up there ready to go for when Shane McMahon introduced him, just be right there for a close-up shot. Instead, it's like panning around the crowd. Where the hell are the guys at? It's horrible.
And I actually got an idea for Stacey Keibler. She could go after Trish and be a part of Vince, and because Vince is going to probably be looking for a new woman.
Well, not at this point, I don't think, because they're trying to keep them separate for a long, long time before they do any interpromotional stuff.
And excuse me if this question's been asked, but any news on Hulk Hogan yet, or is that done?
I think he's really gonna be scrambling. I heard he called up Inoki or something? Wants to wrestle Inoki?
Yeah, I read something about that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's desperate to get his name out there. Hogan. From what I gather, there's nothing going on with Hulk Hogan right now. So I don't know what's going to happen to him.
If they're going to bring back Bobby Heenan and Gene Okerlund and they don't bring Hogan back, isn't that...
I don't think they're bringing back Heenan and Okerlund.
They're not bringing Heenan and Okerlund. I sensed last night was pretty much a lock that they're not going to bring him back from the way they treated him. I mean, that was just like, they portrayed them as, part of that generation with Blassie and, kind of like the old guys. It's nice to see him once, now we're never going to see him again type thing.
Okay, what do you think of Sting? You think the Stinger will come back?
I highly doubt it.
You don't think so? Because the way he acted on Nitro, that he said nothing's for sure. Don't count me out.
Yeah, it's because nothing's for sure.
That's because nothing is for sure. But still, this guy, he's doing acting. He's making tons of money to not wrestle, and his whole career, or I can't say his whole career, but the last several years of his career has been built on not working. So he's not going to want to come back and take a pay cut and go on the road 200 days a year or whatever. It's just, why do it? Yeah.
Okay, and then my last point, then I'll let you guys go. Then what's the point of this whole WCW thing? They're not going to have nobody.
We're wondering that same thing.
That's what we're all wondering how this is all going to turn out. It's not turning out. It looks like it's not turning out so great just yet.
No, I mean they're recruiting WWF guys that look like on SmackDown on Tuesdays. So I mean if they're going to do that, then
boy, if they end up with like Billy Gunn over there, then we know it's.
If Billy Gunn versus Sean Stasiak is on the first show, it's dead.
Then it's the first week, and then that's it. Then basically, huh?
That'll be it.
All right, guys. Thanks for your time.
Okay, you're very welcome. They got a lot of strikes going against them between the bad time slot and no marquee wrestlers. I'll tell you the one thing probably that I will miss the most about Nitro and Thunder is your reviews of Nitro and Thunder. That's the truth. A lot more than the shows. Brian.
It is sad.
It really is. Because, the reviews, I'd say this, the reviews of Raw and SmackDown are nowhere near as entertaining.
That's because there's nowhere near as entertaining. Things just don't happen on those shows. That's why I miss Thunder so much.
Not with that level of
I used to have so much
stupidity.
fun writing those Thunder reviews, and now the show's gone.
I used to do that. People used to tell me that the best part of the Observer was the reviews of Nitro. This was like 2 years ago. And then all of a sudden, I just woke up one day and I go, they're going out of business, and I just can't be as funny anymore. Because, all that whole time when they were on their way down, I was thinking, this company's going to be around forever. Turner's never going to sell it, so I'll just have fun with this horrible product. I mean, it was so horrible. And then when I realized that, all these people are going to be losing jobs, it was just like, it's just all I could do was be sad writing my Nitro reviews after that point. This is from Brendan, who goes, the crowd chanting holy shit after Triple H was chokeslammed on that porta pit mat. What's up with that? They were right there. They could see them. That was weird.
Yeah, but you know what? A lot of the people, there's 6,000 people in the arena. 55,000 couldn't see where he landed. I mean, when he first went off that thing, he just, disappeared. I thought, man, I wonder what he landed on. And they didn't show the replay for a while. Then they showed just a shot of him lying there. And whatever he was lying on, it looked like it was, the cement with carpet over it. I thought, oh my God, I can't believe this guy took that bump. And of course they had to absolutely kill it by showing a replay of him landing on the big trampoline. And actually, it was a porta pit. That's what they call in gymnastics, a porta pit.
Yeah. His funniest moment was when Tess was tangled in the ropes. I thought it was kind of sad because they had to break character, Guerrero and Saturn, to get him out. I mean, it wasn't so much he was caught, but that poor referee was like having a heart attack because he knew he couldn't open the ropes. And it's like,
and then you have Eddie. First Eddie's punching him, and then Eddie goes, well, I'll just go help him out.
Yeah. I was just so funny because he's just going there like, they can't help me because that'd break character. And we're here at WrestleMania, and I'm going to be remembered as the guy who couldn't get Tess' leg out. It seems that the Big Show and Kane look the same size. Not the same weight. But, Kane's got those big lifts in his boots. That's why. Big Show actually is several inches taller than Kane.
How old is Kane now? Like 33?
In that range, I would guess, yeah. Maybe 30, 31, 32,
Ross
33.
was just talking last night about the bright young star Kane, and he may be the future of the WWF. And I was thinking, this guy has been around forever. I didn't realize he wasn't that old when he got the gimmick.
Yeah, I hope he's not the future of the WWF.
I hope not.
Let's see. How long has Brian been wrestling, and what style does he employ? Where can I get a tape of him in action?
Tapes are up on the website, and I think my first match was August '98.
No, I was watching your tape, and they said that you're like a 8 or 10 year veteran.
That's wrestling for you. I thought that same thing actually when I was standing in the ring, and Ken Hamlin goes, "Here's Chico's an 8-year veteran of the sport," and I was looking around going, "Where's the other Chico here? Who's he talking about? 8 years." The best one was we did the show this weekend, and I don't know what the hell happened, but the guy, we had like a professional DJ doing the ring introductions, and he introduced me as Chris Alver, and I didn't even know if I was supposed to come to the ring because I didn't know who Chris Alver was, and my music was playing, and I just went, "Oh well, what the hell? Who cares?"
Well, I got Michael.
That is indie wrestling for you.
Yeah.
The best was the day I was announced at 290.
That's funny. Oh, let's see. 10 ways to get WCW over. Have WCW wrestlers shoot Gilbert on the debut show. Play old tapes of Nitro on TNN. Crucify Eric Bischoff. Huckster versus Nacho Man. Have Sean Stasiak tape WWF pay-per-views illegally and play them on the show. I like that. That's cute. Have a first 500 fans who come to the arena dressed like a security guard get knocked out by Buff Bagwell contest. That's kind of cute. The winner of the Tough Enough contest becomes a WCW superstar. Now, actually, that one is too likely to happen. Have Shane Helms give David Arquette the vertebreaker until David Arquette has to take the move wrong. Use that angle to get David Arquette over as the top face, and bring in Vince Russo to be the top face.
Yeah, I can't blame David Arquette for any of that stuff. David Arquette came to the arena and said, "I will not do this match unless I leave as champion."
Yeah. David Arquette's a nice guy. It was just their stupidity. And he was embarrassed, too, to take it, because he knew he didn't deserve it, but whatever. Let's see. Just got in from Houston. WrestleMania was awesome. It was not 50-50. Everybody was chanting for Austin. I went to the Access Saturday night, and it sucked. There were so many people in there, you couldn't move. I talked to Gilbert, who was walking around. He told me he was supposed to be in the Battle Royal, but they took him out because they were afraid people would chant for Goldberg. Well, there's your answer. That's the story. And that was a smart move on their part. Probably they listened to our show. Maybe not. Probably, actually. And I think that they made the right move. Let's go to Zach in Houston. Zach, what's going on?
You guys, that was the worst Motorhead show I've ever seen. They did one song, and the rest of the night was sweaty men groping each other.
Sounds like every Motorhead concert.
Good one. But in all seriousness, I had a lot of fun.
Hey, have you ever listened to Motorhead before?
No, I haven't. That was just a joke.
I was just wondering if that guy knew the words to the song that he was singing. Everyone in the room with me was like, this guy doesn't even know the words.
But anyway, last night was a good show. The WCW guys actually had worse seats than me. I would like to say that the Austin heel turn wasn't lost on everyone in the crowd, because there were some kids, like 8 and 9 years old, sitting by where we were in the second deck, and I thought they were going to start crying. Maybe we shouldn't have rubbed it in so much.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding, but I do have a couple of things. I'll get to them quickly. First of all, has the WWF ever really given y'all an explanation as to why they won't let talent do your show, but they'll let them do the Law, which you're involved with?
Because they don't like me.
Ah. Is that really why?
No, not at all.
Oh, I didn't know.
No. I know. It's because the law is also broadcast on radio, and if we were broadcast on radio, I think that they would probably still not let their talent come on the show, but they would have as good a reason.
Yeah. Also, is Noah going to be showing clips of matches, or are they going to go the All Japan route where they show like one long match every week?
I think that the first week with a 1 hour show, I'm betting they show the whole Akiyama Omori 23-minute match. Now, as far as for the 30-minute weekly show, I'm guessing they probably will do about 3 matches, which means they'll probably show like 8 minutes of 3 different matches, as opposed to maybe like if it's like a big match, they'll show the whole match.
Right.
But I'm guessing more clips.
Also, another quick thing. after last night, I think they need to pack Chyna up and send her away. And I know it's not going to happen.
After last night?
Well, I've thought that for a long time, but last night was like the one glaring incident where you'd have to be blind not to see that she just doesn't belong.
Mm-hmm.
I think that
she's not a team player.
Yeah.
That pinfall really did anger me.
Yeah. Me
I mean,
too.
the powerbomb, I still would have hated the match, and I would have thought it was horrible, but when she lifted her up, the first thing I thought was, oh my god, Ivory's going over. Mm-hmm. And then she gives her the Ultimate Warrior press slam. I thought she was going to do the running splash off the ropes. Instead, she just lays on her. And oh my god. I was so mad.
But the other thing also is like, she's going over in a squash way, and she still won't even give her any, offense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
she got hit with a belt. That was it. I mean, she barely even sold that.
Yeah.
What's she gonna have to do? Shoot on her like Rick Steiner, or not shoot, but beat her?
I think that she's not going to sell for anyone who doesn't have size. Mm-hmm. I really don't, because because Animal and those guys all sold for her, so she figures that she's like the Ken Shamrock of the women.
Yeah.
Except it's real.
But it just bugged the heck out of me that they took two of the least attractive and least talented women they have and put them on the show. And then
that was the story. That was the storyline for Chyna when they took her off for the we should be thankful they took her off the TV for a long time to build this match.
True.
That's true.
Oops, sorry.
But she was doing the book signing though. If she hadn't been doing that book signing, we would have had to see her every week doing rehab.
Oh God.
Yeah.
But
no, we wouldn't, because she would have quit selling the rehab after like the second segment.
She would start doing just exercises to plug her video. You ever seen a commercial for that exercise video she does?
No, I never have.
Oh.
I've seen the what's it called, the print ads for it, but I've never seen a TV commercial.
She's doing like bench dips, and I'm thinking that's how she got those triceps. Bench dips. No weight, nothing.
One more thing, and then I will let y'all go, because I know this is like the second biggest show of the year after the WWF acquisition thing, and that is, oh gosh, I forgot. Now I remember. When is that DVD coming out with Dave and Jim Cornette doing commentary? Actually,
real soon. Like, I just got like a note from them. I'm thinking within a month.
Great, because I've got all the WWF DVDs. I've got the one Pride DVD I've found, and the FMW discs, which are great as long as you leave the American commentary off.
Well, this one, I don't know so much about, like, the matches are all 80s matches.
Yeah.
If you like 80s Memphis, you'll like it. If you don't like 80s Memphis, you won't. But Jim Cornette is really, really good. Funny and insightful. I was just trying to keep up with him. He was really on for most of those tapes.
Well, I will let y'all go. Congratulations, Brian, on finally getting billing in the ads.
Oh.
And have Dick Beyer on again.
Hopefully we will.
All right. Have a good day.
Okay, thanks very much. Let's go to Ed in Texas. Ed, what's going on?
Yeah, Dave, I wanted to ask you about Corporal Kirshner. I know he wasn't in the Battle Royal, but I had read something about that he had tried to physically attack Vince McMahon at one time.
I don't know. I don't know that story. I mean, it may be true. It was so many years ago. I don't remember what got him bounced from the WWF. Just don't remember.
Okay, and also I wanted to ask you, what's going to happen with the women's division? Are they going to turn Chyna heel so she can fight Lita and Molly, or is it pretty much just dead?
I think they're bringing in Victoria.
Yeah, I think they're going to bring in Victoria to fight Chyna, and then Lita's going to have to wait her turn. Boy, that's going to be an interesting game when the time comes, because obviously Lita's going to surpass Chyna as a star. She probably already has, but in the pecking order she hasn't. And when that time comes, I wonder if how Chyna is going to take.
I think she might try and sabotage her like she did with the Cat and the King.
Well, we'll know. If something happens to Lita when that time comes, we'll know.
It ain't going to happen. She ain't going to get away with it because the Cat was totally dispensable. Yeah. You know what I mean? Lita's not.
I think Lita's more over than she is now.
Lita's more over than she is, and if she tries a power play on Lita, it'll backfire on her. That's my prediction.
Okay, and one final thing I wanted to ask about Spike Dudley. You had mentioned that you probably wouldn't do the job for what they're paying him to take the bumps that he does. And
I definitely wouldn't. Are you kidding?
And what I was wondering is, since he came into the WWF as a Dudley, does he automatically get cut into the Dudley profits on the shirts, or does he have to wait till he gets his own shirt?
I think that he probably won't get into the. I think he probably won't get any Dudley merchandise, at least for now, until maybe in a year. If he's a more, maybe, but I would think not now. No.
Okay.
If they do like a Dudley shirt and his face is on it, I'm sure he will. But as far as like the general Dudley's merchandise, I doubt it.
Okay. And since the guys like Nova and Chetty, they've been getting the dark matches, do you think that they're going to go to the WWF, or you think they're just going to hold them back till WCW?
They're more likely to get into WCW because WWF is all full for spots. So yeah, I could see it, or maybe I don't know. Yeah, I could see him in WCW. I
think Nova would be pretty good there in WCW.
No, Nova's a hardworking guy. Chetty, I'm not sold on Chetty.
Okay.
I was when he first started. I thought that Chetty was really going to be something, and then I don't know. I think as he got out of shape, and it's kind of like in this business now. There's a certain mentality that, everyone knows, for better or for worse, the rules. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have enough discipline to, keep, I'm not saying you should look like a bodybuilder, because the guys who do that, unfortunately, do very unhealthy things to get to look like that. But, there's a difference between a bodybuilder and looking, like just being in shape, and Chetty to show up at like a tryout and not in shape, that's kind of something where, from their aspect, from Titan's aspect, they're going to go they'll hold it against him because that's just the rules of the game right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and you were just talking about Jim Cornette and those kind of tapes. Somebody was telling me that you were involved in a match or something at Smoky Mountain with Wade Keller.
No, what it was I think Jim Cornette was having fun one day, and he booked a jobber tag team called Dave Meltzer and Wade Keller, but it was not us.
Oh, okay.
He was just
I didn't think so, but that's what somebody was telling me. I was like, I got to check that out as they did.
Nah, I never wrestled, never will.
Maybe
with Brian. I was watching Brian's tapes, and I decided that after watching the first 2 minutes of Vince McMahon against Shane, that I could do better than Vince if I was working with Brian, because Brian's actually a pretty good worker.
Well, that's cool.
But I'm not gonna lay there and take that finish. That's a little too much for me.
Okay,
the garbage can or the senton?
The garbage can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I ain't trying it anyway. I don't think I'd make it all the way across the ring.
And a full bank of calls. Let's go through a couple of these emails here from Andrew in Ontario. Except for a few obvious mistakes, I think the WF production team deserves a huge amount of credit for the show. Last night, they truly made it look like a massive event. Yeah, they made it look like just the whole aura of the year was just so spectacular. And do you think they'll put on more matches like Angle and Benoit to educate the average viewer of that type of mat wrestling? I think it's more up to Angle and Benoit. If they want to do it, they'll do it, and if it gets over, it will. It seemed they were getting decent pops once the audience was clued in what they were doing. Yeah, Kurt Angle's so awesome as a wrestler. What did you think of the bump Helmsley took from the choke slam? Didn't look too cushioned and rather lame. Absolutely. I thought it really took away from the match. It really did. In reply to an previous email about the WF pay-per-views in the United Kingdom, I emailed the WWF about this. They said it was due in part to the time difference between the USA and the UK, so there's an answer. So Mike Kennedy, who goes, I'm curious, but you've never answered this. Why has the WF not toured Japan? They toured Japan, I'm thinking about 5 years ago, and it was pretty much a total flop. And they haven't been back since. And since they can make so much money here, they just really don't think about going to Japan. Japan's got their own culture, their own ideas of wrestling. WWF, not that WWF wouldn't do well there now, because it absolutely would, but it's like, why go there?
Why bother doing it?
Why bother doing it? Because you can make more money here or somewhere else. Do you think that Heenan and Okerlund will be part of WWF from now on? Only on special occasions. Let me see. Do you think that they will do an injury angle with Rock tonight to sell Austin's heel turn and explain Rock's absence? I don't know. I don't think so. But, let's see, the Austin heel turn was horrible. How could they expect the Texas crowd to boom? Well, actually, I take that back. I know they did expect the crowd to boom at the end, and they were sort of trying to tell themselves that the crowd was starting to. But I don't know they really were. But yeah, I know they were sort of trying to say that. I would like you to comment on the really, really obvious blading done by Austin and Rock. Yeah, you're right. It was really, really obvious. In fact, after the show was over, I was watching the replay, and I saw the spot that someone brought up last night where, Rock kind of trips and Hebner goes down, and it's like he's just picking this blade up and then just cuts his forehead. I mean, it was, when you actually looked for it, it was, it was pretty bad. So have you seen Randy Orton wrestle? Yes, I have.
And it was bad either way. If you watched him do it, it was bad. And if you just watch him standing there and falling down like a total klutz, that was bad too.
Yeah. It says, Shane is hosting Raw at WF New York. You think he'll be with some of the WCW boys? I was told that their flights were all to go home, not to go to New York. But, obviously they can change the flights, but that's what I was told late last night. So that was the plan as of last night, was for them not to be on Raw. And I don't think that they will be. Because I was told the only mention of WCW on the show tonight would be something that Shane would do. If in fact, Shane would do it. Not even like that was even a given. Okay, anyway, Randy Orton, he's an NWA Nashville, and he's the exact same body type as Shawn Stasiak. He doesn't quite have the same body type as Stasiak, because he's already a better worker. I think he's got more potential as a worker. I don't know how his charisma is going to be, but I think Randy Orton, he's certainly got a chance. We talked about him. He's been wrestling for Cornette. Is there any chance that Jim Hellwig will appear on Wrestling Observer Live? No. No, none. Let's see.
Cornette?
What? On this show? No way.
Jim Cornette?
No, Jim Hellwig.
Oh, he said Cornette.
No. Jim Cornette was the one who Randy Orton works for.
Okay.
Let's go to Max in New York. Max, what's going on?
Doing, Dave. Yes, I'd like to comment on the WrestleMania. Well, I'd like to ask you a question about last night's WrestleMania. What's the angle with Trish Stratus? Why did she slap McMahon?
I think they had to do something for her to get revenge. I mean, she got real revenge. She slapped him once, and then she did a 50-50 fight with Stephanie. But she got her revenge finally.
I think the storyline will probably be that she was the person that did not give Linda
She didn't give Linda her medication.
To keep her in the wheelchair. Because they specifically asked her, and she goes, "Oh, of course."
Yeah, right. Linda and her conspired to do that finish, but Linda's the one who got the big pop, and her spot was, she was gone by the finish of the match anyway.
Right. And how many wrestlers are on the roster for WCW actually?
Wrestlers are on the right now. They signed 24 guys.
20. Those are mostly the cruiserweights, right?
They're mostly the younger guys with low contracts. They're not all cruiserweights, but a lot of the cruiserweights, yeah.
Right. Okay. And sorry. This might have been asked already, but has there been any word from Bischoff yet with you guys?
And regarding what? I talked to Bischoff just a couple days ago.
What did he say?
Regarding what? I mean, he's very disappointed that things turned out the way they did. I mean, actually, super disappointed. But.
And what is he doing now? I mean, his next move.
There is no next. TV doesn't want it. I mean, there would be a next if there could be a next. But he sees the situation in there. I think he's a lot more disappointed that there is no next than he is that Vince McMahon got WCW, because the idea that Vince McMahon could get WCW was always a possibility, and he was always planning on starting something up on his own. But realizing that the market will not allow it because no TV stations want it, that was a real bitter blow for him, and it should be for everyone that's a fan of this business. Does he see that as
a short-term deal, or is something that, this is the end?
Okay.
It's the end for now. I mean, who knows? A year from now, who can tell what's going to happen a year from now?
Right, I understand.
But for now, it's the end. There's nothing for him. He may do something with Mat Rats, but that's, or maybe not. But what does that mean? That's just a limited thing.
Right. Two more questions, and I'll let you guys go. What's the deal with Jerry Lynn and Tajiri and their status with the WWF?
Lynn was at TV or Lynn was at let's see,
Tuesday, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was at TV Tuesday, Monday and Tuesday, and they just didn't use him. But he's there. He worked a house show in Baltimore last week, which would have been his first show. Right. And Tajiri has not started working for them. Maybe he'll be on that WCW team. I don't know. They haven't. I don't know when. But he's under contract.
Okay, good. And one last thing, and I'll let you guys go. Okay, Kane. Being that he's all human, he can talk, he can drive, and do a leg drop off the top of the Titantron thing. Will they unmask him most likely, like sometime soon?
It kind of killed the gimmick.
I wouldn't do it.
If they unmask him, he has to be deformed.
Ugh,
and he's not deformed, and plus he's going to look like Isaac Yankem.
Yeah.
But of course, everyone now, you know what though? Everybody will forget Isaac Yankem.
No, I mean, I know, but I mean, it's funny because in the WrestleMania program, I mean, they basically say that he's Isaac Yankem.
Oh, really?
I mean, they don't even it's not even like it's some secret or anything.
Wait, Glenn Jacobs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, well, thank you guys. I like your show, and see you guys later.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Vince in Georgia. Vince, what's up?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, it's going all right.
Just wanted to call, get my thoughts on WrestleMania. I know I'm probably going to be in the minority here, but all this talk of best pay-per-view of all time and greatness, I mean, I don't get it. It was a very good show. It was a strong show in some aspects, but you know, when I judge pay-per-views, I judge them from the first match to the last match, and when you look at the whole card as a overview,
there were weak matches, no doubt about it.
I mean, out of the 11 matches, 5 of them, not counting the Battle Royal, range from par to not really good, and the other 5, like I said, not counting the Battle Royal. There was a lot of holes in this show last night, and I was watching the Benoit angle, and let me just say this up front, I would pay money to watch Benoit wrestle, but I was watching him last night, and this guy has no identity in the WWF. I mean, this week he's a face. A couple weeks ago he was a heel. They've given me no reason to care about this guy. I'm watching this, and the only thing I'm thinking is, not watching the match, but watching what's going on here is this guy's killing Angle's heat. Angle was the champion. Now he's wrestling him. I mean, I love Benoit as a wrestler, but he has absolutely no identity in the WWF. And I think, they just have not figured out how to properly push this guy yet. As for the TLC match, these guys have wrestled a bunch of times before, and I know it, you know it, everybody knows it. But they should have left that match alone. I just think they clustered it up with Rhino and Dudley and Lita. I was like, we know we've seen these guys a bunch of times. Let this be the final climax. Let them have it. Why did they have to cluster it up while adding other people? Rhino was in the match. The only thing he did not do in that match was grab the belts. He was in there just as long as everybody else was, basically. I mean, I love the Austin Rock match. The turn it reminds me too much of the Goldberg turn in a sense.
I hope not.
I mean, it's one of the things where, like a couple years ago, back in '96, when Hogan turned, you knew that was going to work right away. I mean, it just worked.
You know the differences?
Yeah, I mean,
people hated Hogan to begin with, whereas Austin, nobody hates him, so they got to make people. This is like a Flair turn. They got to make people go against what they really want to do, and sometimes. Like with Goldberg, sometimes that just doesn't work.
I know, and that's going to be the tough thing. Your question, my question, everybody's question is, how is this going to work? We're going to find out, one way or another, but it's one thing that we know right off the top of the back, it's not going to be easy to do. I enjoy the Triple H Undertaker match. I mean, it was nice. It was quick few throw together, but, they worked hard, and I'll be honest with you, I've been a WCW fan for, back when it was NWA, and watching Undertaker just, you sit there and you go, how can you watch Undertaker work his ass off? And then you watch guys like Luger and Nash that are, pretty much in the same age range and make good money. It just shows you that these veterans can still put on a show, and it just disappoints you when you see a guy like Undertaker just busting his tail. And I had to suffer through years of Nash and Luger, and it makes me sick knowing that, these guys could have learned something from Undertaker last night. It was just. And as for the McMahon,
there's you know what? There's your difference.
That's why Undertaker's still around where he's at, and the other guys are not.
That's why the other guy's company's not around anymore because they had the it was you know what, I don't blame the guys as much as I blame the management, because if it was good management they'd have sent him home when they started being a cancer, not after they killed the company. I mean, Nash was never sent home. Luger was sent home a couple of times. I mean Russo sent him home, and then they brought him back and gave him a bigger push than when he left. So what does that tell you? I mean, every one of the guys there that screwed up in some sense or went against the system or whatever it's called, went into business for themselves, I guess is the best term. Every one of those guys never really got punished for it and got rewarded. Scott Steiner, what did they do? They gave him the world title. It's like that really teaches, O'Hare and Jindrak and these guys, how to behave, and how to, what I mean? Those poor guys in the WWF, it's going to be culture shock for them because, they're going to, it's just going to be so different. When those guys got their contracts from WWF, or they'll notice that their contracts were being picked up, the first thing they did was they called Nash and go, Kevin, what do we do? It's like, Jesus Christ, this is the guy you're still going to for advice? You know what I mean? The guy who's not even in the business anymore?
But
although he's making a lot of money.
So I have a question. I mean, I know right now we're sort of in the down cycle with wrestling and in this new WCW slot coming up, but I don't know. My opinion is I just think, and like I said, I am a WCW fan. I just feel it would be better if they just didn't even try with WCW. I just feel they should take the Sean O'Haras and these other guys, send them to Memphis or send them to Ohio or wherever, get them ready and just build them up. Because I'm a huge Sean O'Hara fan, and that was the most exciting thing about the WWF acquiring WCW was finally this guy's probably going to get, could be the next Triple H now. And I just really think they should just don't even try with WCW. Just take these young guys, push them, and then when the time is right, bring back another show. I don't know. I just think right now, as a WCW fan and a wrestling fan in general, I just think we have some dark days ahead of us right now. But I appreciate the time, guys.
Well, we have some dark days as far as lack of competition. That's true. Let's go to Franco. Franco, what's going on? Franco.
How you doing, guys?
Doing good. Hey.
Couple of notes. I like that last call. The last call was a good call. I've been sitting here listening to the show. You guys have a great show. Great show last night as well.
Thanks.
But I'm wondering who writes for the WWF? Who are the writers? Because last night's show had WrestleMania 1 through 16 written all over it at some point. WrestleMania is once a year, and I don't know what you guys think, but you're supposed to have different angles come up, and you're supposed to have run-ins, and you're supposed to have new faces appear and old faces come back and whatnot. I felt they were all so scared, worried about the Austin turn, that everybody else was sort of just pushed aside. And the only thing that mattered, if you would have heard the commentating, Paul Heyman was horrible last night. Horrible.
Because I thought he was pretty good.
And I say that because I listen to the way that they're putting guys over and putting different angles over and whatnot. In that final match, they did what's his name? Ross. Heyman and the Cowboy there. They went crazy to try to put this heel over. This heel.
They knew they needed to.
That was their job though, because.
It was
otherwise, if you just watch that show and you didn't have Jim Ross and Heyman doing their damnedest to get that guy over, all you would hear is the crowd not buying it.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the guys right now, believe it or not, that is so over is William Regal, and they put him out there in the first match. They don't do no prep for it. They don't do nothing. They don't have a run-in. They don't have nothing at all. It's just he goes out there.
Well, they had enough run-ins on the show.
There's nothing necessarily wrong with the first match, because a lot of times they want the first match to be the one that sets the pace for the entire show. So it's not like, oh my God, who do we want to bury today to put in the first match? It's more like, who can do a good opening match.
They wanted a good match. They didn't want to open with like Ivory and China. They stuck them in the middle, because they knew they wanted it to be kind of hidden.
I think Eddie Guerrero should have gotten that first match with Pest, because their match was a pretty good match actually. And apart
they could have done it.
The thing going in though is you don't know, because if you gave me that card, I would automatically say Jericho and Regal is going to be better than Eddie Guerrero and Test. It didn't turn out that way, I guess, but that would have been my first thought.
Yeah, just a couple of thoughts here. What's the story on, or what do you guys think is the story tonight when it comes to Austin? They really, the first thing they got to do, I think, is when the show opens, is they got to get Austin out there, and Austin's got to,
he's got to insult Texas
his mother. He's got to insult his mother,
No, just Texas. If he insults his mother, they'll cheer him. They got to insult him.
He needs to come out with Vince to Vince's music. If they come out with Austin's music, it's all downhill from there.
Or last night, it was Vince that sort of went out in the ring and pulled the save on Austin. I think tonight maybe Vince goes out there and, how about Triple H having a face turn? I think it's about time. The guy's job to everybody.
That's down the line. At one point, that was actually planned for Mania, but I think they wanted to, they're going to do the Undertaker thing for a little while, and then I think after the Undertaker thing runs its course, I'm presuming he'll go with the face turn. And obviously, they're building to Triple H in Austin because they did that. They already got that match in the can that Triple H won, so they're ready.
Yeah. Okay, thanks very much, guys. Good show.
Okay, let's go to Alan.
How you guys doing today?
Doing pretty good.
All right, I have some questions. I heard something on, I don't know how true it is, for WrestleMania next year, 18, where it's going to be held at, maybe?
Uh-huh.
Well, not where it's going to be exactly, but I heard it's going to be in Tampa next year. Is that true or a possibility?
I don't know. I think that they've already made plans. But they did not announce anything at the show. Like, remember last year they announced the Astrodome pretty far ahead of time.
Yeah, they announced it last year.
Yeah, so whatever it is, I think it's probably not locked in stone, because if it was, they may have announced it last night.
Mm-hmm. Also, I heard with the WCW guys, one of the guys there was Johnny Ace. Is he gonna be involved? Like, I mean,
nobody knows.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, these decisions haven't even been made yet. They haven't, because of WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they bought the company, and they haven't really thought about what they're going to do. A lot of that stuff, the next 2 weeks, they're going to do a lot of planning on what they're going to do with WCW, start offering people jobs, start getting writers, office people, the whole bit. Right now, road agents. I mean, he very well may get a job, but, these are decisions that haven't been made yet.
If he was going to get a job with the company, I remember, seeing him years ago when I used to follow wrestling in Florida, and I know he's wrestled in Japan for a while. Is he still, do you think, a good wrestler? Like, do you think
Oh, he won't wrestle. Johnny Ace isn't going to wrestle. If he does, he'll be like some sort of a booker or a Finnish guy. He's not going to wrestle.
I see. Also, say, the Goldberg goes to the WCW, down the road, and they, start to feud with Austin. Do you think that would be, say he comes in a few months from now, do you think it would be best that they would win the feud to, like, maybe next WrestleMania, not to rest the feud? Because, I mean, after a while, like, for example, we've seen Austin, Rock, Triple H, it gets to the point.
I mean, the reality
that's a WrestleMania main event.
Yeah, the reality is that it's, very unlikely he's going to come in, and they're certainly not thinking along those lines that he is. So, I mean, there's not going to be any plans made for that. I mean, there's just, again, it depends on what kind of a buyout that they get and what kind of, everything's just so up in the air when it comes to Goldberg. But the odds are he's not going to be coming in. And Austin and Goldberg could draw a lot of money if it's promoted right. It's a real tricky thing with Goldberg, because they got to make him a killer or he won't mean anything. But to make him a killer, you're going to upset an awful lot of people that he has to kill. Because if he only kills, guys that are on the bottom, then he hasn't killed anyone. He's going to have to kill, an Undertaker or a Triple H to really make it work. And I don't see WWF booking it that way, because it's just, I mean, they could, it's money, and maybe it's and I would want to do it.
But they need to live with it, because there's nowhere else to go.
I could think
if that's what they want to do, then, it's not going to be something like WCW where guys are just going to complain about it or not come to work or anything like that. They're going to have to do it.
They're going to have to do it, but will they make the call? You got to, will Vince make the call?
Mm-hmm. So you think?
I mean, you don't know who'll make you don't know who'll make the call. I mean, there's, a lot of times there are obvious things that they don't do because it doesn't fit into, they don't see it, or it doesn't fit into their ego.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think they need him WC. Right now, the only guy, maybe one of the top guys that they have is Booker T.
I don't even know that he's under contract yet, although I'm sure that they'll end up with him.
I mean, they need somebody, because if you're going to say that none of their guys...
Need a lot of guys.
They need a lot of guys. Austin, down the road, you need somebody, a top guy under contract.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
I mean, something they got to look at is, say that they want to bring in Goldberg or Booker T or anybody, let's just say Goldberg, it's going to come down to, do we want to pay this guy $2 million, or are we going to create a company with a bunch of lower card guys that is not going to make it, and we'll be out $10 million and whatever other costs that we put into this thing? Mm-hmm. I mean, looking at the big picture, the $2 million a year may be an investment and not something that, it's going to screw up everything, and guys are going to complain about it, but it's better than losing the company.
True. But they've got that tight salary structure, and they haven't budged on it yet.
What is some of the...
But they haven't had a need to yet, because it's not like their company is, it's not like WWF is going under. I mean, if they don't get WCW off to a good start, why just because it's under WWF ownership is it going to be in a better position if they're booking it the same way, and if they have even less big stars than WCW had when it was losing $60 million?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need a big talent. And besides, didn't they have, like when the Big Show first came to the WWF or Mark Henry, didn't they have big contracts that they invested in?
Yeah, well, Big Show's got a huge contract. Mark Henry's got a good-sized contract, and that's why they've tried to get him to quit.
That's what I'm saying.
But those guys don't quit very easy.
I think they need at least one or two guys if it meant giving them that money, and maybe, and they could still make a lot of money even if they didn't make as much with merchandise sales, and they could wind up making even more than, what they were going to get per year. I mean, it's possible.
Well, I mean, McMahon can afford anyone he wants, and he can pay him anything he wants, so it's just a question of what he wants, and he makes these decisions.
What they want, too.
Well,
if they want to do it.
I think a lot of the story is going to be told after the first couple of weeks of TV. I mean, if that show's doing like a 1 or a 1.5, he may see that $2 million for Goldberg for some of these other guys is something that maybe he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right.
One more quick thing. You guys were mentioning about Bischoff. There was a rumor, I mean, it's probably a rumor anyway, that on some message boards they were talking about, or NWA, they wanted to purchase the NWA name or something like that. I guess that's just something ridiculous.
Bischoff, I don't. But there's, I mean,
why though?
But for what it's like there's no TV. That's the problem.
That's the problem, yeah.
Yeah,
I think down the road there'll be another wrestling group. I don't know how good they would be able to compete with the WWF, WCW, but probably when there's TV, then they'll.
When there's TV, there'll be another wrestling group. Without this thing will, the lifeblood of this business is the television, and if you can't get on TV, you can't compete. No matter how, even if you have better talent, you couldn't compete, and it's going to be pretty hard to have better talent. It's almost there's not enough talent out there to get better talent.
True. All right, well, it's nice talking to you guys again. Keep up the good work with your show.
Thanks very much. Thanks. Let's go to Artis in Chicago. Artis.
Yo, how you doing, guys?
Doing good.
My question is, I was wondering, I've been watching the WWF for a long time, and I was wondering, what's going on with the tag team division?
What do you mean?
Kind of got Edge and Christian and the Dudleys and the Hardys still fighting for the top spot.
Oh yeah. Well, I got to definitely go for Edge and Christian because I'm from Toronto, and I was wondering, anywhere down the line, Edge and Christian going to sometime get another title shot?
They got the belts last night.
Oh man, I missed it. I just got back from Detroit.
Yep, they got the belts last night in the tables, ladders, and chairs match.
Oh man, because about a week ago I just saw the Fanatic series, and with their last meeting they did was at No Way Out or something. And I really have to commend both of them because I'm really big fans of them.
They're good performers, and they're funny as hell.
Yeah, and I also love Matt and Jeff Hardy, man. I just respect the things that they've done, and especially I was wondering what's going on with Lita. Is she going to continue managing them, or she's going to be doing something else?
I think a little bit of both. I think she'll be with Matt because they're doing that love interest thing, and then she'll, obviously wrestle singles, and I don't know what they'll do, if they'll build up her against Chyna, or it doesn't seem like a good matchup right now for either side. It's too much trickiness in that. Yeah, but also, she'll wrestle against one of the women and do some sort of a program, I got a feeling.
Right.
Can you imagine Chyna trying to take that diving Frankensteiner off the top rope?
Oh, yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah, and I was also wondering what's going to happen to Bradshaw and Farouk. I heard they're one of the top tag teams right now.
They are there. They're kind of just filling out space right now. I don't think that there's any real plans for them. They got a gimmick. People kind of pop for them, but there's not a whole hell of a lot they can do with them. So they're just kind of there. We're gonna get going we're gonna get going, okay? Because we got a lot of calls we got to get to, okay?
Okay, keep up the good work.
Okay, let's go to Dave in is it San Diego?
Hey Dave, how you doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, first of all, you got some idiots that are calling, man. I mean, that last caller was ridiculous. Did you Christian win the belt? Come on.
Well, they didn't read the newspaper this
do you think anything that show last night was as caliber of Bret Austin at the WrestleMania from a couple years back?
No. Nothing was that good.
Yeah.
There was a lot of great stuff, but no.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. I think the card was somewhat overhyped,
I love the show.
Overhyped going in or overhyped after it was over?
Oh, going over, as it was done. Everyone was saying it was pay-per-view of the year. I don't know.
The thing that makes it good was there's a lot of, there's just a lot of little things they do for WrestleMania that they don't do for other shows. And it kind of when WrestleMania doesn't make it, last year's WrestleMania I thought was a disappointment. It's like a bigger disappointment. But when it does, it almost seems like it's a better thing. But yeah. I really liked a lot of those matches a lot. To me, if you get 3 great matches on a show, then hell, that's worth it. I saw many pay-per-views where I saw no good matches, so.
Well, I had an idea, too, to elevate Benoit, because now they're doing the whole Austin as a heel thing, or they're going to try to. Why not put Benoit in that face role, at one of the next coming up, in your house type pay-per-views, and have a Benoit Austin match?
I don't think that's any time in the near future, but I think, somewhere down the road they might do that.
They'll do it.
They got to get Benoit over as a big time babyface first. It kind of worked last night, but everyone just hated Angle. But it's been a while. I guess they started 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it's taken some time for the fans.
Yeah, but they false started it, and then
it's not something they can do right now.
they did. Okay, the first turn was totally botched up and stupid. Then they made him a heel on the very next week's TV because they knew they botched up. And then they turned him again. You know what I mean? It's like people don't know what to make of this.
I mean, if they put that match like on TV tonight, it would be like Austin is total babyface and Benoit's total heel.
Yeah, well, I think they could do something where like Benoit puts the crossface on Vince or something, and I don't know.
Austin stomps him.
Stomps him, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, thanks for taking my call, guys.
Okay, let's go to Marcus. Marcus, what's going on?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey,
it's going good.
All right. I want to know how did you guys enjoy the Guerrero test match?
What about it?
I mean, you guys enjoy it? Do you think it was pretty good?
It's pretty good.
Wouldn't call it good. It was okay.
Decent, probably.
Decent. It was definitely decent. Yeah.
Okay. And real quick, one of the guys who called earlier, he was like, there should have been a run-in for the Jericho and Regal match. That match had no need for a run-in.
Especially in the opener.
Right, exactly. I don't think any of those matches had need for a run-in except for the TLC match and, of course, the main event, to turn Austin heel or whatever.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it, all right. Thanks, guys.
Okay, let's go to Abby. Abby, you're up next.
Hey, nice to talk to you guys. I got a question about WCW as far as in general. When Vince McMahon is done, like, doing whatever he's doing with it, is he eventually going to shut it down?
I think the inevitability is that's what's going to happen, yeah.
I mean,
I think it just depends on a lot of different factors, but probably it'll end up being shut down. I mean, if the thing's successful and it can be successful for 5 years, I don't see why he would shut it down, but I don't know if it's just too much stuff for one guy to do.
Growing up, like, before I sort of knew about wrestling behind the scenes and that kind of thing, it was like you always read the magazines and you read all the, like, dream matches or whatever that would take place, and then ultimately would when, people would jump ship and go to, crossing federations or whatever. But there's also talk of people jumping from WWF, like Shane McMahon recruiting people. Is Triple H going to be one of those people?
None of that stuff's been decided, but I mean, it's certainly a possibility.
Do you have an opinion as far as who would be the best talent to take over and promote, as far as
Rock.
Somebody that the WWF hasn't done well with?
Rock would be the best guy to go over there for a million different reasons because he's the only one. He's the only one that will.
Rock. Okay.
He's the only one that will guarantee viewers switching to that show if they can't see him any other place. I mean, even Triple H, if it's the only show that they'll see him, he's not going to help the ratings that much.
Right.
I think his two biggest upsides are the fact that A, he's a huge star, and B, he'll do jobs. If they send Hunter over there and it gets all political and everything like that, and Hunter's seen as a big star, but nobody ever beats him,
right?
It'll just kill it.
Does he really? I'm assuming he has that much clout because of his position, but is there truth to that? And
it's not position.
It's just he knows what he's
really
doing.
hard for them to write him out of the storyline right now, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Well, all it is that it would be hard, but all it is Shane signs him under Vince's nose, and that, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's just the way to do it.
And ultimately there is a plan for the interpromotional pay-per-view type stuff.
Oh yeah, but not. Well, they'll do the interpromotional unless they just can't do anything with it. I mean, if this thing just flops from day one like an XFL,
right,
they may never get to an interpromotional day. But the idea is to rebuild it, and when it's really strong, then do the interpromotional. And there's no timetable for this other than hopefully someday it'll get really strong and they can draw money with the interpromotional. Right now, I mean, there's a lot more money in WWF guys against WWF guys than any WWF guy against this WCW crew. I mean, if there was a Bill Goldberg, it would be different, but there isn't a Bill Goldberg. So,
right. One last question. As far as another promotion starting up that might compete with Vince, do you see Rupert Murdoch and Fox or any of those people in that direction doing something like that?
You have to have somebody like that, but if they were that interested, they had their opportunity a week ago and they said no, so they're obviously not that interested.
I gotcha. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, man. I keep up like everybody else. I love this. Talk to you later.
Thanks very much. We appreciate that a lot. We really do. Let's go to Scott in Kentucky.
Hey guys, what's up?
Not too much.
I just tuned in the show a little bit ago, so I don't know exactly what all's been talked about, but have y'all heard any rumors where next year's WrestleMania will be at?
Nothing's for sure. I mean, that I've heard.
Somebody called in with Tampa or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I have a friend that lives in Tampa, and everybody down there is carrying on that it's been confirmed. I'm like, well, I'll believe it whenever I officially hear it. So
I will sort of check, but I have a feeling that they won't tell me. Maybe they will.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember where exactly it come from. I think somebody from the Tampa area was at WrestleMania last night.
Oh, it's probably Bubba the Love Sponge.
He got told by Hogan.
What it was,
That's right.
They said that they talked to one of the cameramen about it. And
if that's the case.
He supposedly, yeah, that's why I didn't.
That's
I
as good as
found it hard to
confirmation.
believe. So I told my friend, I said, well, I will believe that whenever I officially hear it straight from the WWF that it will be at the Ice Palace in Tampa.
If it's anyone but Teddy Long.
That's right.
They don't have good enough sources.
When will we see some of the other ECW guys show up in WWF like Jerry Lynn?
Jerry Lynn, potentially tonight. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he was there. He was there at TV last week. They just never used him.
Yeah, I did hear that he was at Access over the weekend. Is Tajiri still going to be in WWF?
He's got a contract with him. They just haven't started him yet.
Do you think that there would be any other ECW stars possibly show up in WWF?
Yeah, probably on the WCW side. I mean, Dreamer will probably show up in the WWF just because I think they feel like, I don't know why, but I think that they're going to use him. And then as far as some of the other guys, I wouldn't be surprised to see some of the smaller guys end up on the WCW side when they start the WCW thing going.
Do you figure if they bring Dreamer in, it's going to be definitely him and Raven feuding?
Oh God, no.
On down the road.
I mean, it's like
a match, but
it's like it's a possibility. But as far as doing the Dreamer Raven feud, I just don't see it. I mean, I think the Dreamer in WWF, I could be wrong, but I think that it's not going to be very pleasant because, without the gimmicks, there's really nothing to Dreamer. You know, I mean, he's not a big guy. In ECW, he could be a big guy, but in WWF, he can't be a big guy, and he's just. He's too physically beat up. He's a nice guy. He just physically can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
There was something else. Now that they own WCW, what are the chances of possibly Lance Storm coming to WWF? Maybe
he is. I mean, he's going to be in. He's going to be in the WCW side because he has been signed. Yeah.
Do you think that they might get the Impact players back together?
No. No. Lance Storm's going to be in the WCW company, and Just Incredible's going to be.
I meant him coming to WWF on Raw.
No, they're not. They have no talent on the WCW side. They're not going to let someone like that go to the WWF side yet. I mean,
blame it.
A year from now, possibly, but that's not happening now.
But do you possibly may see Lance Storm becoming heavyweight champion sometime on down the road, WCW?
Most likely, I would say no, but you don't know 100%. It's like
again. They pushed him awful quick or awful hard whenever he first came in, and now he's just
right. But that was a different management, and they had different ideas.
Yeah, no doubt.
You got it's like you got to figure out how would, the guys who are going to make the call. The fact is not. I mean, ultimately the call, of course, is Vince. All right, but the guys who are going to make the call, which would be the writers and the bookers, have not even been hired. So for me, you're trying to ask someone to think of how someone's going to think that hasn't even been hired yet. It's really hard. Like if it was like Johnny Ace and Arn Anderson, I could at least think, okay, what would Johnny Ace and Arn Anderson be like? But they haven't even been hired yet. So it's like there's so many steps away that to predict who and what they're going to do what with, it's just so premature. It's not really. You really can't do it intelligently.
Mm-hmm. Back on the Tampa subject, after them having almost 68,000 people in the Astrodome last night, I just don't understand why they would want to have WrestleMania at a venue that only holds around 20,000 people.
They've done it before.
Most years they do.
Now that wrestling's even more popular than ever, I just don't understand why they would want to have
wrestling was more popular than ever about 2 years ago. It's on its way down.
Well, yeah.
Last night was probably the defining moment of this boom because, it was the big crowd and the biggest gate in history, but in American history, not world history. But as far as, I don't know. You don't know where the business is going to be in a year.
Yeah.
And you book a 60,000 seat. Now, WrestleMania, I think, will always draw because it's got that history behind it. Mm-hmm. But then again, look at Starrcade.
If things are going down, I don't know if they can pack another 67,000 or 65,000.
If things are down, they can't. No, look at Starrcade. What did the pay at Starrcade was what, 3,600 or something at the DC.
Yeah.
So when you're cold, you can't sell tickets, and when you're hot, when you're hot, you can sell tons. What can you say?
Yeah, I remember a few years back when they had Starrcade down in Nashville. I went to that one, and it was, it was at the Municipal Auditorium, and it was pretty packed, and it's most definitely went downhill over the years.
Well, the Hogan, I think it was the Hogan Piper Starrcade?
Yes, that was it.
Okay, that was like their first big sellout, because I remember, I was actually reading back old Observers, and that Starrcade, people in WCW, they had like this period where the business was really, really down. And then that match like ushered it in, and they had their first sellout in a long time, and there were people in the company that were taking pictures outside of the sign that said sellout.
Oh, that's right, of the sellout sign.
Of the sellout sign, because it had been so many years since they had sold out like a real, like that Nashville Auditorium is like 9,000 seats or whatever it is. It's not even a big building, but they had been so long since they had sold out a building of that size that it was like, and it's funny because they went from that, never selling out to like taking pictures of sellout to, selling
like
out the Georgia
13 or
Dome.
17 in a row or whatever it was.
Oh, it was like 20-something in a row. And then they went back down to where, they were, back to where they started.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing because, there was people lined way on down the streets of Nashville waiting in line. And I believe, matter of fact, A&E was working on a biography at the time because they had a camera asking people questions. And I remember seeing one of the A&E documentaries, and it was a lot of footage from the Nashville Starrcade.
Yeah, we got to get running.
The Champions won. I can't remember because the very last Clash of the Champions was in Nashville.
Yeah, we've got to get running. We're totally out of time.
Okay,
We're actually overtime now. Okay.
You guys keep up good work, and I appreciate answering all my questions.
Okay, you're very welcome. I want to thank everyone for calling in, and Brian and I will be on here tomorrow. We're going to have Tom Zink here tomorrow, so we're going to have a lot of fun. We'll be talking about Raw and talking about anything else that you guys want to talk about when it comes to wrestling. We'll see you tomorrow at 5. How's it going, everybody? This is Dave Meltzer. We're going to be here for the next 2 hours talking pro wrestling with Brian Alvarez of Figure 4 Weekly, and we'll be taking all your phone calls and your emails during the next 2 hours. Gosh, that sounds so redundant. Brian, how are you today?
I'm doing good.
Good weekend?
Yeah, it was good. Pretty laid-back weekend, so that was what was good about it. I didn't have to wrestle or anything like that. Got a lot of the newsletter done. Didn't go bowling. It was good.
Yeah, I got pretty decent amount done as well. It seemed really just, I don't know, the weekend just seemed so much easier with so much less wrestling. But that's not but to me that wasn't really, that's not a good sign.
I even had time to watch Heat.
Did you really? I didn't watch
the first Heat ever that I've seen on MTV. And I suppose it would be ruining my credibility to say that it was the best Heat ever because it was the first one I ever saw, but this had to be the best Heat ever. Steve Regal was the host. It was great. Wrestling was pretty subpar, but, Regal did his comedy the whole show, made fun of Michael Cole. Can't ask for much more than that. And actually, I think that the Eddie Guerrero test match may have been better than the one they had at WrestleMania, which isn't saying a whole lot, but it was all right.
Well, he didn't get his ankle caught for...
He didn't get stuck in the ropes for 25 minutes while everybody in the ring panicked trying to get him out.
Yeah, today was a New Japan show at the Osaka Dome, and it was really weird. I don't...
Haven't we been saying that for a while now about all these New Japan shows?
Well, they've been weird in a different way, but now that Antonio Inoki has taken over, more of the booking of the main events, and plus he's doing Pride, and he's trying to, mix and match, and then you've got Shono out there who's, trying to copy American wrestling, booking his match, and you've got this, it's like, I don't know. Basically, there's none of the old New Japan, which is what built the company, and instead you've got one guy, chasing the American style, which the fans really don't get into, and then someone else chasing the shoot style, which, is okay. It worked with Ogawa in the Ogawa-Hashimoto feud, but you can't have a steady diet of it because pro wrestling is not a shoot. And they did some just really weird stuff, and then, TV Asahi did some really weird stuff, and we'll talk about that. In reading it, and basically, I've gotten a lot of different responses to it. I think the hardcore fans pretty much hated it. I think the casual fans liked parts of it, but still hated parts too. And there was so much WCW-ish. Not that they copied WCW, but they did things that reminded me of something that only could happen in WCW. And I think the first match tells the whole story. It was Jushin Liger against Kazunari Murakami, and they had a really great angle. It was actually aired on television last Saturday night. It would have taken place a couple days before that. So they go in there, they have the ring introductions, and then they go to a commercial break right when the bell rings. And when they come back, the match is already over. The match went like 1:57, ended in a DQ. Now
what was a DQ, by the way?
What? Liger won by DQ.
What was a DQ?
I think because he unmasked him and because Ogawa interfered.
Okay.
So they come back. Liger doesn't have a mask on. The match is already over. Ogawa's running around going crazy. Everyone's running around in the ring fighting. And they don't show a replay of it because I guess they didn't have the tape machines rolling. And I'm not even sure, that's basically what happened. And
that's pretty much destroyed the entire show. Was the commercials all started like when the match started? Why wouldn't you do it during ring introductions or immediately after the match when they're doing the post match or whatever? Why does it make sense to do it for the actual wrestling?
I guess they felt that the post match was more important than the wrestling matches.
How about the pre-match?
Now, I will say this on live the commercials themselves. Okay, this is the difference. Okay, the commercials themselves during the matches is not unusual for live coverage of Dome shows. I mean, in every Dome special that I remember, they would have a commercial right at the start. The difference is that those matches used to always go, like 10 to 20 minutes. When the match goes 2 minutes and you have a commercial and it's over, that's why people were so much more upset because, when you have a 6-minute match and you're losing the first 2 minutes for a commercial, you're losing a lot. When you've got a 20-minute match and you lose the first 2 minutes, people aren't lighting up the switchboards, which in fact they did light up the switchboards. I see Asahi complaining about this. So anyway, Ogawa, it ends up with a big brawl, and Ogawa and Tatsumi Fujinami, who was doing color, end up fighting. And then Riki Choshu's music played, and it's huge pop. Choshu comes out, him and Ogawa start fighting, everyone's fighting, they're challenging each other, which probably will lead to something on May 5th at the Fukuoka Dome. What happened then, though, is they had a match. It was Choshu and Shiro Koshinaka against Toshiaki Kawada and Masafuchi. And since there was so much heat for Choshu against Ogawa, the first ever meeting of any kind with Choshu and Kawada, I don't want to say it got no heat because it got good heat, but it just seemed so secondary that it was not a big deal. And then when Fuchi tagged in, nobody cared because nobody took him seriously, and Choshu lariated him to win in about 9 minutes. The crowd, by the way, was announced at 27,000, but I think the real number was probably closer to 20. It was definitely the smallest crowd for a New Japan Dome show in history, which is not good, although I'm not surprised because it was a weak lineup. In a surprise, Yuji Nagata beat Manabu Nakanishi. I heard they had a good match. With 2 enzugiris, actually an enzugiri to the back and then a high kick to the front. So Nagata will challenge the new IWGP champion, who's Kazuyuki Fujita, we'll get to in a second, also on May 5th at the Fukuoka Dome. Then it was a 6-man tag, which I heard was the best match on the entire show. It was Masahiro Chono returning, which also makes no sense because Masahiro Chono was put out of action due to injuries, work injuries. I mean, he'd been just banged up and needed a rest, but with Don Fry. So when he comes back for his first match back, he goes against Bat, which is, whatever, Badass Translate Trading or something. Is that what it is? I know it's Badass something. So anyway, he's going against them, and Don Fry is a member of that team, but Don Fry is not in this match. So anyway, it's Chono, Tenzan, and Kojima against Muto, Taiokeya from All Japan, and Jinsei Shinzaki. And Tenzan and Kojima are an awesome tag team. I mean, they're the best tag team in the business right now as far as pure in-ring work, carrying opponents, that kind of style of work. I mean, it's like Edge and Christian are funnier outside the ring, and the Hardys do like a lot of, they'll do more spectacular moves. But I mean, if you watch the Hardys when it comes to like selling and work and just the whole around thing, if they're not doing gimmick stuff, I mean, I'm not saying they're not good, but Tenzan and Kojima are just way more solid as far as the ability to carry people. They're really a good team. Well, anyway. The finish of that one, Chono pinned Shinzaki, but Hiroshi Hase was at ringside, and there was a lot of stuff involving him. Chono and him got into a fight. Chono attacked him at ringside. He, later gave a chair to Muto for Muto to attack Chono with. And anyway, when the match was over, Chono got the clean pin, and then Hase did a run-in and gave Uranage suplexes, which is similar but not exactly to a rock bottom. I mean, the rock bottom was basically stolen from a Uranage. It's just not quite done as well. And so anyway, he gave them to all 3 guys and then challenged Chono to a match. And I guess his last thing to Chono was, in Japanese, it was like, and what is your final answer, which is sort of a takeoff on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, whatever that thing is that they say at the end. And then Chono came back with something about like, you should be more worried about your friend, which is a reference to Prime Minister Mori, who resigned a couple of days ago, who was Hase's political ally and friend, in fact, campaigned for Hase when he was running for the Senate. And his approval rating was like 10%, which sounds just terrible because their economy's in shambles. And so that's what Chono said, which actually that got a pretty big pop when he said, you should be worried about your friend. Then the IWGP Championship match, Fujita beat Scott Norton. And, I mean, it sounds like a terrible match. It probably was a terrible match. There was a lot of outside interference. I know Brian Johnston and Gary Goodridge were out there brawling with Team 2000 outside the ring, which is probably just as well. But Fujita beat him with a choke clean, and he got both belts. Because he came in with Inoki's old IWGP belt. So, I mean, the way it was kind of like... And it was no pinfall match. So, I mean, the gimmick is that when Scott Norton gave him a power bomb, he couldn't pin him. So, because the only match could only end by it was basically Pride rules theoretically. So it could be a tap out or a knockout. So, Fujita won with a choke and the referee ended up stopping it when Norton was out. And I guess it's really weird though. Fujita is IWGP champion. I guess it's just so weird, because when Fujita left New Japan, he was like an opening match guy, and now he's like a world champion. And I guess the only good news is that Norton isn't.
Well, he got those big wins, even though they were flukes, so I guess that counts for something.
Isn't that the weirdest? That's so
I don't know
weird,
what it counts for, but it counts for something.
But he was not super over or anything like that, because I think that, if you watch those matches, I mean, in both cases, it's not like he really beat either of those guys. It's like they beat themselves.
Yeah.
Unless he's got that whatever that is, And they actually did the same thing.
Look at Rulon Gardner. He was this big superstar. He never beat anybody.
No, he avoided getting beat.
Run that guy down, but
he avoided getting beat. You know what? It's the same thing as Rulon Gardner. If Rulon Gardner had actually done something offensive to win that match, I think. Because as we both talked about, when the news came out about that match, that was like huge headlines everywhere because nobody actually saw it. Okay? Yep. And then when all of a sudden, like that night when we watched the match, and all of a sudden it was like, oh my God. I mean, you actually felt sorry for Carellin because it was like, God, you win 250 matches in a row and your streak ends like that.
Because of your grip?
Because you let go for a split second.
Yeah.
Although he was going to lose the point anyway.
When I first got an email from you, it was like, Carellin lost.
Didn't you email me first?
We were emailing all night long or something like that.
Yeah, because
I think you emailed me first going, he lost, and I just thought, man, this guy get pinned or, what the hell happened? And it turns out his grip slipped, and that was the end of that. So.
Yeah, 1-0.
But, that guy became a superstar off that, and, what kind of a win was it?
But
Same with
really,
Fujita.
He didn't really, though, if you think about it. I mean, what's Rulon Gardner now?
Yeah. I mean, for the time being. They might as well get as much out of...
It was a one-day thing, though, because once people saw it, I think that it really... Like, if he had really beaten him decisively, I think Rulon Gardner, would have been a lot bigger superstar.
Mm-hmm.
But, anyway, the main event was the same rules, which is Hashimoto against Kensuke Sasaki. Hashimoto did a brainbuster on Sasaki. And, the match only went 8 minutes because they were rushing to end it and, and all that. But anyway... Hashimoto did the brainbuster, and he couldn't pin him, so he just started kicking the hell out of him, and then they stopped the match. And people didn't like in a pro wrestling mentality, you're expecting the big comeback, and they didn't get it, and they just were not ready for that match to end in 8 minutes. So, very cold reaction. Anyway, I'll get a tape of that. And in the preliminary matches, there's actually a common theme to the prelims. I'll go through. There was three matches that were not on TV because they did a live television special on TV Asahi. So this would be the biggest audience to watch TV, a live television show in Japan and maybe anywhere at one time, for this whole year, most likely. Because, who knows? Who knows? Because there were so many people complaining about the commercials. Maybe the rating wasn't that good. Last year the rating was they did 15.7 rating last year. But anyway, it was Takashi Iizuka beat Minoru Tanaka, who was the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, getting beat by a mid-card heavyweight. And then Yutaka Yoshie, who was totally uncharismatic, fat heavyweight, beat Shinya Maccabi, who is a up-and-coming great junior heavyweight. And then Brian Johnston, who is he has a great look and no ability. And I don't want to say no ability, that's not fair. Just very green heavyweight, beat Kendo Kashin, who's a pretty darn good working junior heavyweight, whose career is doomed.
And how
he beat
long?
him in 2 minutes and 20 seconds with a front guillotine choke.
That guy's dead.
Yeah, well, he's going to be even deader because he's supposed to fight Ryan Gracie at the next show. Well, they're trying to get Johnston. They're trying to get Johnston over to fight in Vale Tudo. They got him from UFC. Brian Johnston is a phenomenally talented fighter. He's just not a what's the word I'm looking for?
Phenomenally talented wrestler.
No, he's got a great look. He's not a phenomenally talented pro wrestler. No, but I'm talking about as a fighter, he's got great skills, but he doesn't have a great heart. In that, I don't think he really likes getting beat up, and I guess maybe no one does. But if you've ever watched his matches, once he's taken down and he's on his back, he just never gets up from it. But when he's beating people up, he's quite ferocious. And, he's he's 6'4", probably 235, 240. He can wrestle pretty good. He's got very good judo training. He can kickbox pretty darn good. He's got the skills and the look and all that, but, if he goes against a wrestler and the wrestler takes him down, it's just at that point, he's kind of okay, let's get out of this fight. You know what I mean? It's not like...
Yeah.
That was, if you ever watched his UFC fights, every one of them is as soon as he got taken down, he never got up. And the only one he lasted any time with once he was taken down was Shamrock. And Shamrock just pounded the hell out of him. And I think the whole gimmick on that one was that, what was the name of it? That was a really weird Ultimate. And, 3 guys, I think, in the same tournament, maybe 4. No, because Mark Hall, Don Fry, Gary Goodridge, and Johnston were all managed by the same guy, and I think was it Robert DePersia?
They were working each other.
Robert DePersia. This was by the last time that he was ever around a UFC. So he's managing half of the people in the Ultimate, as it turns out. And so I think that the idea was Ken Shamrock was probably the best fighter in that Ultimate. Certainly he was the favorite going in, and Johnston was his first round opponent.
Wasn't that the fight where he beat up Johnston and broke his hand and couldn't go on?
Yes, that was the fight. So anyway, the basic gist was that Johnston's role was, Johnston, I know that Shamrock felt that the toughest guy in the whole tournament for him was going to be Johnston, and he actually manipulated it so he would get Johnston in the first round when he was fresh, figuring that the other guys would be easier and it's okay if he was tired. He wanted the toughest guy first, so he respected Johnston. So anyway, he took Johnston down and just pounded the hell out of him and broke his hand in the process. Or actually, it wasn't broken, but it was almost broken. He damaged it greatly and couldn't come out. And the idea was Johnston's role was that he couldn't tap because they had to wear Ken down, so Don Fry or whomever, Don Fry ended up winning the whole tournament, Don Fry would have a weakened Ken, so it was his job was to not tap early, and I was right there at ringside, just a few feet away from this corner where Shamrock's got Brian in the corner, and he's just pounding him, and Brian is just sitting there wanting to tap, knowing that, he can't. And he's just going under his breath. He's just swearing, going you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So finally after being pounded on for about 5 minutes, I think it was, he did tap, and it was when Ken started switching hands, and I go, oh my God, he switched hands. He probably broke his hand on the guy's head, hit him so many times. And basically that's what happened.
Sure enough.
And Don Fry won the tournament because Tank Abbott slipped. So anyway, that's the story of that. Let's see. Santo beat Psychosis in their hair versus mask match Friday in Tijuana, which I have not watched the tape of, although I got the tape in the machine right now, so I'm going to watch it as soon as the show's over. And I heard that was a phenomenal match, and they had a huge crowd. And Puerto Rico had, with Kane and Terry Funk down there, and Miguel Perez joined the Boricuas. They had a really big weekend. IWA was just doing very well. On Raw tonight, we don't know any matches, but let's see what's going on with Raw. Jim Ross will be announcing the show tonight. I don't know what they wrote on the preview, will Jim Ross announce or not, but I think he's going to be announcing. God, I'm trying to think. Is there any Pep Boys pulled out of advertising on SmackDown, citing that they didn't like what they saw. That was a PTC deal. Any other stuff I'm missing from the weekend? No, I mean, no WWF shows the whole weekend. What?
Yeah. It's quiet around here.
Yeah, everything was foreign. There was nothing domestic at all. No WWF shows. ECW declared bankruptcy on Friday, officially. Although, that was pretty much expected. There's something here. Where was it? Oh, let me get to this. This is a poll question for the weekend on WrestleMania. What was the greatest match in the history of WrestleMania? Savage Steamboat ended up winning it with 26% of the vote. Bret Hart and Owen Hart had 20%. Michaels and Razor Ramon ladder match had 21%. Bret Hart and Steve Austin from 1997 WrestleMania, that was the I Quit match, had 25%. It actually lost by 2 votes to Savage and Steamboat. And then Rock and Steve Austin from this year got 7%. So pretty much everyone was figuring one of those other 4 matches was the best one. Today's question is it possible to run a profitable, that's a very important word, a profitable national pro wrestling company against the WWF today? A, no. B, yes, but only by copying the WWF style. C, yes, but only by coming up with your own new style. Or D, yes, by doing old style but having good booking and good logic. So that's...
Or E, if Vince Russo and Dave McClain hook up.
Yeah, right.
Did you read that?
What? No, I did not.
Oh, his newest website, Delia Bob, is whatever the hell he called it. He was talking about a meeting with Dave McClain when he was in California, and things may be happening there, he says. You need something new, and WOW is that new product.
Well, WOW did lose $3 million in a quarter, which is more than ECW lost all of last year, and oh my God. I don't even know what to say when you brought that up. It's just like...
I emailed you the whole thing so you can check it out.
Oh, just so wonderful. I have something to look forward to.
Hey, are the Yankees in California? What's the big team in California?
Brian! Oh, my God. Don't ever talk about sports. No, okay, what sport are we talking about? Give me a sport.
Baseball.
Russo's favorite sport.
Oh, San Francisco Giants.
That's what he's talking about. He goes, I went to California to watch the Giants play. Why, you ask? Because he was such a tremendously loyal person. He puts that in all capital letters. And while he was there, he had the big meeting with Dave McClain.
Great.
And he broke the news that WOW will be restarting operations in September.
Oh yes, they're going to try to get funding for another season. How is that
season? Yes.
Okay, now how is that going to be any different than this first season?
Well, Russo will be there.
So?
He's talking about look at how great the ratings are with the women and blah, blah, blah. And it's a great...
Okay. You know what?
They didn't. I know. At the end, they didn't.
Okay.
I think he only gave one example in the whole thing, and I didn't go back to check it out, but I think his example was the night that they did the bikini contest at Club La Vela, where Tori Wilson won. I think he said that Nitro, that 6-minute segment beat the return of Steve Austin. And it may well have.
No, it didn't.
I didn't go back to check.
God.
Did it not?
God. What?
What was that? It was like 98?
Club La Vela it had been the spring break of 99, right?
I think it might have been the 98.
No, it was the spring break of 2000. I think it was spring break of 2000 when they did the bikini.
No. It was farther back than that.
Spring break of 99?
Yeah.
Okay, that was the one where it would have been right after Sable left. So okay. Well,
yeah, where Nash came out and Sable eat your heart out. Sable
eat your heart out, right? Well, even if it did, so what? That's 2 years ago. What does that matter now? And I don't think it did anyway. But it's like, so what? WCW, up through 98, WCW regularly beat out WWF, numbers for different quarter hours. No big deal.
I just like the whole 6-minute segment part. He made it very specific that 6 minutes.
But he doesn't even know.
The return of Steve Austin.
He doesn't even know that. He's just every time you look back and like he'll say something like that and then you look it up, like, like we did this segment and it beat out like what Flair and Hogan did, and you look it up and it's like, it's not there was no Flair and Hogan, and it was like, do you know what I mean? And then when you look up when Flair and Hogan last wrestled, it was like a 4.4, and he's talking about it not being able to do doing a 1.9, and it's like,
Look, and for all you Vince Russo fans out there that listen to this show, he will be doing a chat on that website following Raw next week. But unfortunately, you have to send in your questions early so they can screen them for the proper response from Vince Russo.
Okay, great. All right, anyway, let's get out of this. I know this isn't going to happen, but somebody has got to get Antonio Inoki and Riki Choshu out of power. They were slowly sending New Japan Pro Wrestling to the same level as WCW. God, I was thinking that just this morning as I was reading over the TV show. Somebody has got to break the news to them that this pseudo shoot style wrestling stuff they were trying to push isn't working. So the problem is, it's not so much that you can't do the shoot style in one match and the WWF style in the other match. You've got to have your own. You can do the shoot style. I mean, like the shoot style with Ogawa and Hashimoto was a big success, but you can't have a whole promotion of it because you just can't. And the other thing is that you can't have it while you have a WWF style match somewhere else. And the New Japan got very successful doing a certain style, and they're like abandoning it. And that's what's not doing very well. I mean, they just killed that.
At least they cut the commercial and it cut to a backstage segment with Hogan cutting a promo.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Used to do anyway,
they're destroying their respected cruiserweight division. They sure are. And they have them jobbed to undercard heavyweights as both counterproductive and downright insulting. It's probably not so much that they're... it's like... I think if they if the cruiserweights against the heavyweights and the cruiserweights lost 70% of the time and won 30% of the time, I think it would work. But when it's like 95% of the time, it's bad. I would just love to get inside the heads of Inoki and Choshu and figure out what the hell they're thinking. Choshu's real tough. I don't know what's in his head. I actually think I do understand what Inoki's thinking. Actually, Brian, you kind of wrote something, and it was kind of clicked in my head, and I started thinking like I was still in the 70s watching wrestling, and I totally understood where Inoki's going. Unfortunately, nobody else does. There's actually I actually wrote this in the Observer. There's a long explanation. I totally understand what Inoki's doing. I don't agree with it, but I actually do. I mean, the whole thing is that Inoki's trying to get himself over as the greatest shoot fighter of all time, and in his prime, and he's backdating stories to the 70s by bringing up his old belts. And he's going to put his old belts on guys like Fujita and Mark Coleman, who were super shooters, and therefore, since they're super shooters, then him, who originated those belts, was also a super shooter, aside from being the best pro wrestler, because he thinks that pro wrestling, everyone kind of knows is a work, but he's trying to preserve his legacy. So anyway, that's the Reader's Digest version of that. And speaking of great things, after New Japan Wrestling and WCW and WOW with Vince Russo, we're now going to talk about the XFL, which, by the way, did set its all-time record low rating for NBC on Saturday night, and I do not have the rating for Sunday yet because Nielsen's slow, which actually the rating wasn't done by even 4 o'clock. So anyway, this is from Hector Ruiz, who goes, I just thought of a scenario to explain why Vince is talking about having a second season. I want to know what you think the likelihood for this is. Could it be that Vince is going to go to UPN and TNN and say he wants to do a second season? So when they say, no, please, Vince can say, okay, let's make a deal, and tells them he won't do XFL, but they have to both give him a good time slot for WCW. So basically the talk of a second season is just a power play for Vince to get a good time slot for WCW.
So
sounds like a great story.
TNN and UPN?
I don't buy it. I don't buy it for
That's
a second,
too much.
but yeah. But it is too much. Now, the deal is, okay, UPN's contract for the XFL ends after this season. They can get out of it. It's not like NBC actually is going to have to pay some sort of a penalty because they have a 2-year unbreakable contract that they're obviously going to break. The UPN contract they can just get out of. Now, TNN's contract for the XFL is a contract that is actually for the life term of the league, which means that they cannot get out of this contract as long as Vince has it. But Vince obviously is not going to use TNN.
Can they pay a penalty, though, if they want to get out?
I don't. Why would they even bother? Do you know what I mean?
They have to air those games.
Yeah, but what ratings do they get on Sunday afternoon? It's not like they're getting any worse ratings than they would usually get. It's not like UPN, which is giving up prime time, and the affiliates are getting mad. I mean, TNN, 0.5 on a Sunday afternoon. It's no worse than they get anyway. I mean, it's not a nightmare for them, and why piss off Vince? Vince gives them Raw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Actually, maybe they could make a deal and Vince go, hey, give us Sunday afternoon for wrestling. Actually, they would probably take that deal, too.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What's the lineup look like for Backlash? Well, hopefully they'll come up with one. The main event looks like Undertaker and Kane against Austin and Helmsley, and then maybe Benoit and Jericho against Regal and Angle. Maybe. We'll probably have a better idea tonight. Hopefully they'll start. It's 29th, so they got, we got 3 weeks of television. Usually they don't finish their lineups until the the Friday. Actually, usually they finalize the lineups for pay-per-views the Sunday before the pay-per-view, so they can shoot the final angles on the Monday and Tuesday TV.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I was wondering what the WF has in store next for Eddie Guerrero. Anything hinted? Because if the test would do little for the European title, I think they should put him against Taz. They may. What the hell?
Why not? Taz emails again.
Yeah.
They started coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's because it's our fault they do, though. So Ryan Anderson, do you know what?
And he pretty much beat him clean last night, too. Low blow and a roll-up.
Yeah.
Didn't have the 15 people running in like WrestleMania.
Do you know when the book, what the book Foley is Good is all about? Does it continue or have a nice day left off? I don't know the whole book. I think that a lot of the book is like actually defending the WWF against all its criticism, which actually, and I was kind of told by the author himself. We were going through, actually, I've talked to him a lot about this book, but I don't know exactly, I kind of have a good feeling of a lot of what he's going to do. And he told me that, like the first book, you know how he skirted the drug issue, right? And and that was actually probably about the only criticism from Inside Wrestling. Well, the main criticism from people like that listen to the show was, he skirted the drug issue. So he's addressing the drug issue, and he told me, unfortunately, a lot of people are going to get real down on how I handle it. So I think he addresses it by skirting it again. But maybe not. This goes, last week you said that you have never met Brian. I find that hard to believe. No, we lied. No, actually it's true. We've never met. Who has the best chance of these three of going to the WWF? Vince Russo, Bret Hart, or Eric Bischoff?
Bischoff.
Bret Hart.
Going to the WWF?
Of WWF taking him? I'd say Bret Hart. They can make more money with him.
I think Bret Hart's going back.
No, I don't think it'll happen. I'm just saying.
Oh, if they had the opportunity and all three guys wanted to come in?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bret.
Yeah, that's how I review it. Yes, as far as like.
But as of today, Bischoff.
You think that if the three want to come in,
I'm just saying Bret wouldn't want to come back, so it'd be Bischoff and Russo, so they'd take Bischoff.
Okay, of those three, okay, well, you're saying, yeah, I would agree. Okay, of the best chance, because Bret Hart wouldn't want to come back, you're right. So it'd be Russo and Bischoff. Yeah, I'd say Bischoff because Bischoff's a better television performer than Russo. Do you think Linda's surprise tonight will be the return of HBK? No. No. Do you think, Triple H winning the Intercontinental title was sudden and made no sense unless there's a working program between Jericho and Triple H? I think it made sense. They're trying to elevate the Intercontinental. Made sense in other ways, too. Let's see. Any news regarding Tori Wilson? No. I believe Jacqueline's contract is up for renewal. I think that she's already been renewed. In fact, I'm pretty much positive of that. When are the contracts for Steven Richardson and The Good Father up? I've heard they won't be renewed. I have no idea. And I don't know if that's true. Have Shane Douglas, Ernest Miller, Alex Wright, and Disco been let go? I don't know what the status is of any of them. Some of the guys have been let go. But I don't know about Disco has not. Disco, I'm pretty sure hasn't been because I think I would know if he had. Ernest Miller, I'm pretty sure has not been let go, but I think Ernest Miller's got some time left, like a decent amount of time left on his contract anyway. Douglas. Don't know. I don't know what the status is of Douglas. I don't think he's been let go, though. Let's see. I don't know if he even has... Well, he probably does have cycles. This is from James Blunt, who goes, I seriously doubt WCW will be successful with a late-night time slot. Now that WCWF and WCW are one company, would it be possible to give WCW the TNN Live Wire hour and MTV Heat hour? Sure. If they wanted to, they could do that tomorrow. It's their show. I don't think it's necessary to have both Live Wire and Superstars. So there's no real loss there. And there's no real loss on either of them because neither of those shows. WCW needs almost primetime heat more than WWF does. Totally agree.
Now, how does that, I have a question real quick. The cycle, like the 90-day cycle, does it begin the day that you sign, so it's 90 days after you've signed? Or does the cycle end on a specific day for everybody every 90 days?
No. It's everyone's different. It's okay. Like 90-day cycles from the day that you sign. So like one guy will be May 12th, one guy will be May 16th, one guy will be, yeah. Okay. It's from Patrick, who goes, I've noticed how Dean Malenko has been used on and off in the WWF. Unfortunately, he's been jobbed at quite a few times against really bad tag teams. Is Malenko on the outs, or are they moving him to WCW? I think that he's been considered being moved to WCW, actually. I don't think he's on the outs as far as that goes. Do you think it's possible that Jim Ross denying The Rock will be on the new WCW show? Do you think it's possible that he's denying it as a surprise to do the new storylines, like Rock appearing on the show would be played up as a surprise. JR did this with the Radicals who had yet to sign. That's true, he did do it with the Radicals who had yet to sign, but in this case, no. The movie's real. Let's see. What's the heat between Heyman and Cornette? Ask the next time Cornette's on the show. They've had heat for years and years, but a lot of it just stems from Cornette's, like when he did. There's just been a lot of things that Cornette, they just have heat back and forth. They have totally different philosophies of wrestling, and they're both passionate in their philosophies. And Cornette worked a couple of times and made some business deals with Heyman, and he thinks Heyman double-crossed him, believe it or not. Just like on the Gangsters thing, and then when Cornette went to work there, and just a lot of different, one time Cornette, gave a tape of some Smoky Mountain stuff for Paulie to use on TV, and he was supposed to get paid, and he never got paid, and so he says, and just philosophical differences of people who've known each other for 20 years and have totally different ideas on everything. Let's see, how would you rate Shane Douglas as a worker in his prime? Prime, which was many years ago, good. Certainly never great, but good. Let's see. This is, who is most likely to win the Champion Carnival Tournament? Let's see. If it was me, Kawada. If I was, and who may win. Let's see, it's Kawada, Taiokeya, and Tenryu are like the ones who have a chance, I think. I think Mike Barton is still alive points-wise, but the best that he'll do is lose in the finals, and I don't even think he'll do that. So I think probably Kawada.
I think Tenryu's just won so many matches so fast, and I know he's got a bad neck, but he did do that 30-minute draw that, they're just setting him up to not win.
Yeah, I think to lose in the finals, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, is that, I don't know, I could see Taiokeya going to the finals and losing to Kawada. No, because Tenryu's already locked in the finals. He's already in the finals, and then it's, Kawada needs a draw with Steve Williams or a win over Steve Williams, which is actually tomorrow, to get into the finals, and I think Taiokeya would need to beat, Taiokeya and Mike Barton are tied, and if either of them win, if they don't do a draw, then one of them will also be in the finals, so they may end up with a three-way final. Actually, if they don't do a draw with those two, it will be, and Williams beats Kawada, in which case it would be Barton or Taiokeya against Tenryu. So Tenryu's in, and that's sort of how it stands right now. I know there are a lot of rumors about Shawn Michaels on Raw tonight. Okay.
There are?
I guess there are. I don't know why. Let's see. Is there any pro wrestling in China? I know there's no pro wrestling ability in China.
What?
Okay, that's cute. Since the WWF recently signed Jerry Lynn and Tajiri and probably Guido, do you think WWF will get...
I should apologize for that comment.
What?
Never mind.
Yeah. Do you think WWF will get a light heavyweight division on track? This is a joke. Let's see. I keep reading complaints that Triple H...
Sometimes we get questions like that just have to be a joke, but then I read them and I go, maybe this person's serious. The one last night in feedback about a feud between Sean Stasiak and China could really turn WCW around. I almost died right there on the spot.
That was pretty funny. I know they're hardcore, but what wrestler, if any, from XPW and CCW do you think is impressive enough to compete with the WWF guys? I have not seen enough of those guys. No one's like mentioned any names of those guys. I mean, I know CCW's got, God, who's the guy? I think it's Trent Acid. I saw him wrestle in Japan. He was really good. I'm not sure if Trent Acid's the guy, though. But there was one CCW guy, junior heavyweight guy, who's really, really good. I don't know if he's, again, junior heavyweight WWF, kind of tough. But of the XPW guys, actually, I have seen most of those guys, and I don't know of anyone there that's quite ready for the WWF. Let's see. What's funny is, first group of emails, they're all about Japanese wrestling. So, anyway, which I guess maybe who knows. Anyway, we'll start. Who was the heel in the May 1st, 1999, or whatever it was, May 1st, the first Masao Kawada match at the Tokyo Dome? There was no heel. They really don't have heels and baby faces in Japan when the guys wrestle each other. Why is Scott Norton so big in Japan? I actually have an answer to that, believe it or not. 10 years ago, when Scott Norton first went to Japan, Stan Hansen was like really huge in Japan, and they were looking for, New Japan was looking for, and Vader was huge. And they're just, so that was the prototype of what, the Japanese promoters were looking for to introduce a new star. They tried with Tony Halm, who was horrible, and Scott Norton, who's also horrible. But they just pushed him to the moon, and in 1990-ish, when Scott Norton started going to Japan, and he was no better then than he is now, and probably no worse either, they had an array of workers, because Muto was young, Chono was young, Hase was awesome, and they put this guy over, and they were so good, especially Hase. Hase was so good at putting this guy over that he got over, and he just stayed over even though he's terrible, so that's the deal. They're into, if a big American gets pushed, they can get over. And Norton ended up becoming something of a legend there because he's been going there for 10 years and he's always been main events. They've always protected him, always kept him strong, held the IWGP title, and that's the deal. Let's see. Why shouldn't Kobashi wrestle again? Because his knees are shot and he's going to end up in a wheelchair if he does, and he'll come back too soon. And it's just a really sad story because the guy was like such an incredible wrestler. See, this is from John in Kelowna, BC, who says, in the paperback version of Mick Foley's book, he said that he had differences with another of the participants in the WrestleMania 2000 main event. Do you know who the participant was and what the problems were? I don't know. I think everyone thinks it was the Big Show, but I think it was The Rock. But I don't know that. I just got that feeling. Let's see. Who do you think's a better worker, Misawa or Kawada? Right now, I don't think there's any question. It's Kawada. Misawa's just too beat up. In their prime, probably Misawa in their prime. Better psychology. They were both awesome, though. Have New Japan and All Japan ever had an interpromotional show? Yeah, October 9th. They did. Pretty much. It was built around that. Has anyone ever asked Brian Christopher what he thought about the Cat King situation? I don't think it'd be worth asking him because it's like, I don't think he would ever want to answer it because he's doomed, all he can do is say that he can't say anything bad about Vince. He's not in a position to do so. So I don't think he said anything. Someone goes, I've heard Misawa Kawada in 1994 is considered the best match in the history of wrestling. Do you think that's true? I could not say any match is the best match in the history of wrestling, but Misawa and Kawada had many matches that were among the best matches I ever saw. Many of them, not just one of them. Let's see. When's the WF going to build up a new wave of wrestlers? I'm thinking about the period in late 99 and early 2000 where they got Jericho, Angle, Benoit, and the rest of the Radicals in quick succession. The problem at the moment seems to be a stagnation of the roster that leads to endless variations of Hunter, Austin, Kane, and Undertaker that we're getting. Is it difficult to elevate mid-card guys if there's no one ready to replace them, and who's ready in OVW or elsewhere? There's no one in OVW or elsewhere ready to come in and be in that level. There are guys that are... Steve Bradley's ready to come in. Rico Constantino's probably ready to come in. But I don't know that they would be... The thing with the WWF roster right now is it's so deep, and the standard is so high that no new guy is going to be able to come in and be so spectacular. It's almost like they're doomed like what happened to All Japan and to a lesser extent New Japan, but definitely All Japan was when the standard of the work in the main events got so high, it made it almost impossible to create a new main eventer because they couldn't work good enough, but then the guys who they had as main eventers got stale because they kept wrestling each other all the time. I know, Brian, what do you think? Brian's gone. I was wondering. Let's see. Let me know when he's back. Let's see. What do you think was the best WrestleMania main event match? I'd say maybe this year's, because Savage Steamboat wasn't the main event. All the matches that we talked about over, in the thing, even Bret Hart and Austin, which was obviously the biggest draw on that show, Undertaker and Sid was considered the main event. So I would say, best main event, I would say Rock and Austin this year. I would say that. What is your best guess for main event at WrestleMania 18? Too early to even think about it. Let's see. Brian's still not there. What's the plan with... Oh, Brian's here. We're going to get just a second.
Okay. I'm back.
All right. Okay. What would the WWF buy rate equal in ratings? Like if Viacom wanted one of the WWF pay-per-views to put on CBS for free, what do you think the rating would be, and how much dollars would WWF charge CBS? Like, if you put WrestleMania for free, well, WrestleMania is going to be a $40 million plus show this year. But that's not, but WWF's share will be over, let's say, what will it end up being? 16, 19, 20 million.
13?
20 if you include the well, that's right. Just for the pay-per-view, it'll end up being about, let's say 15. Okay. 16. More than 16. 17. Okay. It's going to end up 17. Let's just say 17. So WWF would have to charge CBS $17 million to make up for that loss. So if CBS were to pay them $17 million for one 3-hour show, then it would be worth it. I don't. As far
as what the rating would do for a show like that?
That's got nothing to do with ratings. That just has to do with how much they would have to charge.
I think I was asking, what do you think it would get as far as a rating?
If it was on CBS, I think it might get like an 8 to a 10. Don't you think?
Think so?
It could get on CBS. Yeah, I think so. It could get it. I mean, if they can get almost a 6 for a Raw on TNN, they can get a 10 on CBS with a month of promotion, 2 months of promotion. Yeah, I think so. Let's see. Any word on whether Goldberg or Booker T will sign? There's nothing new on any of this stuff. Everything's, no one has gotten any contract buyout offers from WCW, or from Turner, Time Warner, whatever it is. So as far as all of this goes, everything's in the same position that it's been in from day one. That's why one of the reasons why I think that they pushed the starting date back to June 9th, because there's just not enough time to get everyone ready, because until these guys get offered a buyout and take the buyout, WWF can't exactly make plans for them.
I wonder why it's taking so long for them to at least make an offer. Every week they're paying out money.
They're all screwed up. Let's see. Of the wrestlers who have wrestled in the last 20 years, who has wrestled the most matches over the last 20 years? Maybe Flair. Yeah, I would just as a guess, I'd say Flair. Yeah. He hasn't wrestled a lot of matches in the last few years, but how many guys have been? How many guys have been around?
Steamboat said something like he'd wrestled 6,000. So just think about Flair, who's still working in 2001.
Let's see. They were probably working. In the 80s during the Crockett era. I mean, they were working 250 matches a year. I mean, there was a period. Probably late 70s, maybe even more than that. I mean, because that's when they were really going 6 days a week, twice on Sundays a lot of the time, twice on holidays. I don't doubt they were doing 300 matches a year in that late 70s era. And there's no one, is there anyone around from the late 70s besides Flair? From that era where they were really working every day?
That's working somewhat regularly now?
That's still around? In any capacity. So, I mean, I'm not talking about like Dusty, who's sort of around, but, hasn't wrestled in years, regularly. I mean, all of those guys, they're all pretty much gone. So I would think it almost for sure be Flair, because nobody in Japan wrestled that kind of a schedule. I mean, where they ever wrestled 250 matches a year. Let's see. I've been thinking about.
How about Aguayo?
That's that. You know what? You're right. Someone like that, because they used to wrestle tons of dates. Yeah, you know what? And Aguayo wrestled more regularly than Flair the last few years. It could be Aguayo. Yeah, that's a pretty good answer. I've been thinking about it, and if you give it some thought, I think this ECW bankruptcy thing is a work. Now, I know what you're thinking. You don't work a bankruptcy, but Paul Heyman's really smart and manipulative, and no one sees it coming. He files for bankruptcy, so everyone thinks he's completely out of the game. But then when the WWF releases all the WCW guys with high salaries, he scoops them up, quits WWF, starts back ECW on Fox. And the guy goes,
why he filed bankruptcy? So he doesn't have to pay any money.
Yeah. No, that letter was a total spoof. Okay. I just want you to know. But I think it was just a spoof. It was a spoof on the kind of letters that we get, I think. Okay, do you think
Send
Tank
that to
Abbott...
our feedback section. I appreciate those.
Do you think Mike Tyson will accept Tank Abbott's challenge? Please, come on. I mean, I wrote that thing. I wrote that thing on the website, okay? And it is a true story that he wants to do that, okay? But I wrote it, and I made sure that everyone knows this will never happen. And now it's on all these websites, people going I wonder if this match is going to take place. It is not going to ever take place. Ever. It makes as much sense as that Ogawa thing with Tyson. It's I don't want to say ever, because maybe the day will come where Tyson will need money, but it'll never happen with Tank. It's going to happen. If it's going to happen like that, it'll be, someone with mainstream value like Hulk Hogan or something. Anyway, let's go to Chris. Chris, what's going on?
Hi, how's it going?
It's going pretty good.
I was taking a look at that Russo site for whatever reason, because my brother was on it, and there's a if Brian's been to the site, I don't know if there's a game on the site where it's kind of like the whack-a-mole thing that he talked about in the newsletter that time, where there's these top hats and a face pops out, like Goldberg, Russo, Dave Meltzer, Luger, and Miss Elizabeth. And if you click on them, you get a point. If you click on Russo, you lose a point. But if you click on certain ones, you get a point. And I think if you click on your face, you get like 2 points or something. I think it's a bonus.
Wow.
Point. Yeah, I think it might only be 1 point. I might have that wrong because I didn't spend a lot of time playing the game. But just so you know, he's got you on his site in a hat popping out of a hat.
Dave, you've moved up in the whack-a-mole world.
Oh my God.
Do you still not know what a whack-a-mole is? I know last time you didn't.
I sort of do now.
Sort of do. Well, you're part of one of the games online, so.
Okay.
I read his commentary too, and he did say that thing about. He says for 7, it said it beat. He said that the segment beat Raw for 7 minutes for every minute, and that why don't respectable. This was his kind of snide remark. Why don't respectable journalists ever report this? Check the numbers; they don't lie.
Okay. Have you checked the numbers?
Have I checked the numbers? No, I don't like Russo, so I could care less.
Well, you can still check the numbers, and they may be true. It may have been true 2.5 years ago. So as we said, or 3, because there was a period when a lot of WCW segments were beating a lot of WCW. The first, I can tell you, I mean, I remember this just because I wrote it when Bret Hart retired, and I remember the stat. There was a thing where Rock threw Steve Austin in the was it in the bridge over. In the bridge or something? It was a big
belt.
Steve Austin segment, and it went head-to-head with Bret Hart.
He threw the Intercontinental belt or something over the bridge, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like... No.
I think that was a different week. He threw the belt off 1 week, and then he threw Steve Austin off.
No, he threw Steve Austin, but he did it face-to-face. But anyway...
Oh, that's right, yes.
Oh, yeah.
He threw Steve Austin into the thing, I think, and then... Or maybe he threw the belt, I don't remember. But anyway, it went head-to-head with Bret Hart's... debut on WCW TV, and Bret Hart's debut on WCW TV beat it by, I think it was 4.2 to 2.7 were the rating points, but whatever it was by a big substantial margin. And you know, what does that mean today? It means nothing.
I was just going to say, he can say all he wants and pick out all these segments, but the bottom line is, you're at the Giants games, and Vince McMahon owns everything, and I mean, what the hell's the point?
And he gutted that company.
Yeah, it was all. I mean, and then there's another segment. I don't think he wrote this. I think it was written by somebody like the webmaster maybe or whatever it is. All these booking ideas for the new WCW. Now, if you go and read it, it's on the main page. It says new WCW booking ideas or whatever, and there are actually some good ideas. I think the guy's name was like Ryan DiBiase or something like that. And the thing is, when you read them and you think to yourself that this whole website is VinceRusso.org, like this tribute to him or whatever it is. All these things that are there, he could have did when he was there. Like one of them, this big idea is a big Bill Goldberg, Mike Awesome program, and that Mike Awesome should be this main eventer and blah 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 blah. But what the hell did he do with Mike Awesome when he was there? He put him in
that 70s guy or or was it the Fat Chick Thriller?
The Fat Chick Thriller, and then the leisure suit. And who the hell was going to take that serious against Goldberg? You know, I mean, as you read it, you look at it, and you just kind of, and it wasn't Russo saying these are my ideas, but it's somebody on his site, and it's like, I don't know. It gets you kind of irritated when you read it.
There's a lot of funny things on that website.
Yeah, unintentionally too. I mean, some intentionally, maybe some not. What I wanted to ask you, a few things about Japan. Because I got a couple of tapes from Tori Human recently, and I'm sort of new to following that. So, at the end of one of the matches, Ultimo Dragon does a run-in a suit and does all these kicks and like kind of clears the ring. I thought he was like incapable of wrestling. Like
that's why he was doing kicks.
Well, I mean, but he everything he did was like, I mean, he didn't do any. I know it was his elbow. Like he didn't do any slams or suplexes or anything.
He can't do anything with one arm, but he can. Yeah, he can't close his hand or anything like that. But he can still kick.
Oh, okay, yeah, because he looked great doing everything he did. I'm looking at him like, how's
I remember the run-in. He did look great, but again, yeah, he couldn't do a match though. I don't think.
Oh, okay, that's why I was just curious. And who's Shiryu? I can't say his name. Shiryu 2. The one that Kaz Ash used to play, the old gimmick he had?
Yeah, the new Shiryu and Michinoku, I don't know.
Oh, okay, because he was pretty good. I just wasn't sure. I mean, I saw one match with the Curry Man. It was like a 6-man with this guy, Jody Fleisch, and there was a lot of nice spots in that match. I'd never seen him before, so. And the other thing I was going to ask is a friend of mine was asking me about this. Remember the old Legion of Doom, Powers of Pain weightlifting angle they did? He wanted to know if that was like, if they were legit, like, if those guys were lifting what they were saying they were lifting. there were
I
real
believe
powerlifters.
I believe the weights were legit.
It was
but
spotting.
I'm trying to remember what the. Because I remember there was a big thing at the time, because usually in wrestling, historically, the weights have been worked when you do stuff like that. And I believe when that was going on, that those guys wanted the weights to be legit, but I don't know how heavy they went, because Hawk is not was not at that time, and probably never was, nearly as strong a bench presser as his legend, as fans would have thought. So, but Animal was a very strong bencher, and I know Warlord was, super strong bencher, and Barbarian probably was pretty strong 500-pounder too. So, I think, like when they finally piled the weight on and did the angle, I think that the weights were real in that segment. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we were got into this discussion about the kind of one you had recently about the strongmen in wrestling. So he was asking me about that. Are they gonna, if they do this tag team main event at WrestleMania, are they gonna do a stipulation? Because generally, like tag matches that don't really, even though they're big names, they don't seem to have the interest. You know what I mean? They don't garner the interest from people if there's no title on the line. Or
I hate that though when they put the title on the line for those matches.
So do I. I'm not
a tag match.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they'll have the Intercontinental and the World title on the line, and then if Hunter gets pinned, then the guy wins the Intercontinental. I could easily see them doing that. Yes.
Yeah, they did that with Owen and Bulldog and Yokozuna, some kind of match.
Yeah, they may do that. But I'm thinking the idea is of this match. Just what I'm thinking is that it's to set up a singles with Austin and Undertaker, and if that's the case, then the logical finish would be Austin getting pinned by Undertaker this time. And to do that, you wouldn't want those titles on the line.
That's true.
Because then the whole build-up is okay, then you do the title match at the next pay-per-view.
Yeah. And this last thing I want to say, I was reading the Observer lately because I've been subscribing to it regularly, and I still have things to finish reading. There's so much stuff in it. It's just you do a great job with that.
Thanks.
I read things and just learn things as I go along. Even federations, in other countries I don't follow, but I know a little bit about it. It helps with a lot of the information. And Figure 4 too is it's too funny. It really is. It
is too funny.
The WrestleMania recap he did where he just goes off on China, I couldn't stop laughing. I mean, and it was more serious, and I'm just sitting there laughing about how he said, "Oh, at least save."
The funniest thing about Brian's stuff is even though it's funny, but it's true funny as opposed to just trying to
make a stupid joke.
Trying to make jokes, it's there's always a meaning to the joke rather than just a joke there to be funny and with no purpose.
Right, exactly. That's what, I read his year in review that you always raved about.
That was awesome.
The lines about Russo, how he swerved his wife by picking up orange juice instead of milk when she had those. That was great. I thought that was funny as hell. And then how they had the big plan, how Bischoff and Russo had a big plan with all these wrestling minds to make $60 million in 9 months, but Russo convinced Bischoff that we should swerve everybody and actually lose $60 million in 9 months. That was some of the funniest stuff I've ever read. So I'm just plugging that and kissing a little ass and letting everybody know they should subscribe to both of those newsletters. And that's it.
Thanks.
Okay. The contest Russo was talking about was in September of 2000. It was when Raw. It was I think September 25th, 2000. Which opened with Austin's first interview after a long absence, and then they did the bikini contest. It was the one that Pamela Paulshock pulled the power play to win. So anyway, look
is
up
that the one he's talking about?
Yeah. So look up the comparison quarter hours. It'd be the September 25th, I believe, would be the day, although it's not here. I'm guessing that's the date. So of 2000. In fact, the quarter hours we were referring to were 4.81 for Raw and 3.11 for Nitro. So that's the end of that. What?
What about that 7 minutes though?
Okay, whatever. I'm sure that's about what they were. Let's see. Any chance that Benoit and Jericho will team up long-term and compete in the tag team division? They could freshen up the division. It'd be nice to see the tag straps on someone new. Plus a feud with Edge and Christian would be great. Actually, Benoit and Jericho against Edge and Christian would be good. I think that it would take them down, though, because the tag team division in WWF has never been a main event division, and it'll kind of if it was old-style 1980s wrestling, I wouldn't mind it because you could have two singles guys going to tag team for the world tag team titles, like the old NWA style, so to speak, and it would be good and it would elevate everyone. But for Benoit and Jericho to become a regular tag team and feud with Edge and Christian, even if they would get the tag team titles, it's actually a step downward by the way the WWF does business. So I don't want to see it because I don't want to see them take the step downward.
I mean, look at Undertaker and Kane. They're two top guys, tag team. If they face Edge and Christian, they just kill them.
Yep.
And I think they have, actually.
Many times. I think Undertaker by himself has a few times, too.
Yes.
Would Scott Steiner, Kevin Nash, or Bill Goldberg be huge in Japan? Scott Steiner was a real big star in Japan for years and years. Because of his athletic ability and everything. He's much bigger now. He would get over because he's part of their culture, and everything like that. I don't know that his matches would obviously not be as good as they were, not even close. He actually had good matches, really good matches there. Kevin Nash, I don't think so. I don't think that he would do well there. And Bill Goldberg.
At least he's tall.
He is tall and he's big. I just don't think it would. But Sid Vicious never did well there.
Yeah.
So it's just that size alone. Although Norton did. It's a matter how you're pushed, I guess. I don't think that Nash would do well there. As far as Goldberg, certainly the first time he would do real well just because it's Bill Goldberg and the people would make a big deal out of it. Long term, if he was there all the time, I don't think it would work out very well. But as a special guest, maybe 3 times a year, I think he could do very well. This is from Ben Miller, who goes, what are TNN's ratings for early Saturday evenings? I don't know. If the WF wants to attract an audience, it seems that getting an early evening Saturday time slot might help keep some of the WCW fans who used to watch WCW Saturday night. Yeah, I think that old WCW Saturday night time slot is preferable to the one they're getting. I know this isn't going to happen right away because the time slot is set, but I'm curious if you know what kind of ratings they get at that time. Again, I don't know the answer.
I don't think it's so much set yet.
It's not etched in. It's not like it can't be changed.
Yeah.
The thing is that a lot of people keep looking at his ratings, and with wrestling, and not even just with wrestling. Ratings are only a tool to determine what advertisers are going to spend, and it really doesn't matter because if they can get a show that does an 0.7, and an advertiser will spend more money on that show than a wrestling show that does a 2.0, the station will go with the 0.7 in more cases than not. And we've seen this many times in the past. We just saw it with WCW. The fact is the shows that they're replacing Nitro with did a lower rating than Nitro, but they're probably making more money at it. The Dog Show on USA always generated them way more money than Raw ever did, which is why they used to replace it, even though there were years the Dog Show beat Raw and there were years that Raw beat the Dog Show. But it's like,
they're not like the end of the story anyway. If they did like a 1.5 rating and they could still tour and make money and do an occasional pay-per-view and make money, then the rating really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Yeah, Let's see. This is regarding Mick Foley, who he's upset at WrestleMania. He goes, I suspect you're right about The Rock because Foley has publicly said he was really upset with The Rock, both beating on him so much and then not asking him backstage if he was sure that was okay. Now that would have been Royal Rumble, the year before, so that's not necessarily the same thing. I know that Foley was a little bit unhappy that he praised Rock in his book, and then when in Rock's book, which was this self-centered masterpiece, the only guys that Rock really praised, if you read the book, were he praised Bret Hart. And he praised Austin, and he didn't really praise Foley. So I think there was a little, but I don't know if that has to do with WrestleMania. What are Japan contracts like? Could WWF bring in someone like Kawada? If they want to pay anyone enough money, they can get anyone they want. They got the money. I don't think they want Kawada. I don't think they want Japanese guys because Kawada works stiff and that's not their style. Do you think it would work? I'd love to see Helmsley against Kawada. Again, it's different style. I think they're both good enough workers. They'd probably have a really good match. But, Helmsley's, it's like, the Kawada style, again, is non-gimmick, and Helmsley, what he does, to get over in matches is, good use of foreign objects, breaking tables. It's like, it's something different. They're both great workers, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Is there any hope for WOW's survival at all? It was the only wrestling show besides SmackDown I could get in a cableless household. Long term, as far as making money, it's like if someone wants to pump money into something forever, it can always survive. But as far as being a profitable entity, no, there's no chance for that as a profitable entity. Let's see. This is somewhat an unimportant question, but what do you call wrestlers if you talk to them backstage? Say if you saw Triple H backstage, would you call him Hunter or Paul? I don't know him.
Everybody would call him Hunter.
But I would say Hunter. Most cases, unless it's someone that you've known
weird.
for.
It kind of depends on everybody.
Yeah, it depends on who where you know him. If it's someone that it's like when it comes to a wrestler, if it's someone that you've known for a long, long time, you usually call him by the first name they used when you knew him. But like, I can't even say that. Most of the time, if I get a message just from a wrestler, in 99 times out of 100, they leave their stage name. They don't leave their real name. So it's just how it is. You become your character. Do you think something like a WF pay-per-view on free TV will ever happen? No, because it will then be a free TV show. It can't be a pay-per-view. Anyway. This is someone, Iron Man, most matches. Here's a guy with a list. Perro Aguayo, number 1. Could be number 1. Ric Flair, number 2. Jerry Lawler, number 3. That's a good one. Lawler's a good one, too.
Yeah.
Bill Dundee, he's never retired, and he worked, he worked a full schedule. Gypsy Joe, I don't think Gypsy Joe, although I don't know. And then Mil Mascaras never worked 8-9 matches a week in Mexico. I think that there's Mexican wrestlers like Liz Mark and stuff that worked a lot more than Mil Mascaras. Mil Mascaras had always slowed down by 79. What are the chances of Tank Abbott fighting in mixed martial arts if his pro wrestling career is over? I think that he'll try, and I don't think it depends on who they put against him, but it's may not be good. Okay, then he goes, there's a Monday Nitro on March 22nd, 1999, okay, where Nitro had a bikini thing, and there was Raw that night, but Steve Austin did not ever go head-to-head with a bikini thing. So that's the other one. That's the one with Tori Wilson where Kevin Nass said, "Eat your heart out."
Okay. So that's what I figured he was talking about, but I didn't know he was talking about with Austin returning that night.
Yeah. Well, it would have been that September 25th. That was when Austin returned.
Yep.
Remember that because it didn't even come close.
Like anything was even coming close in 2000. Nothing.
Yeah. This is from someone who says, I was listening to The Law last night, and Jeff said Big Boss Man was going to be Regal's bodyguard. I didn't know that, but, Jeff's got...
God. Why?
Yeah. I had heard we're going to put David Taylor in some spots similar to that, so who knows. But, Jeff's got pretty good sources in WF. I would guess it's probably true. Let's go to Phil in D.C. Phil, what's up?
Hey, guys, I got a bunch of little different things you guys have talked about.
Okay.
Another person for maybe Iron Man, El Satanico. He's been wrestling since '73.
Absolutely. Good pick because he's probably been wrestling 7-8 matches a week for that whole period, and I don't remember any injuries. Yeah, I think that's a good pick.
And he's just a pretty good worker too. I mean, for a guy, I guess I'm looking at his birthday, was 49, so 50-year-old wrestler.
He's 50 now. Yeah. Oh no, he's 51. He's 51 because he was born in 49.
Right.
And so born late 49. So he'd be 51 years old.
Yes, I mean, for somebody that, I think over 50 wrestlers, maybe him and Gran Hamada. How about Gran Hamada?
But Gran Hamada stopped
the schedule, huh?
Yeah, Gran Hamada stopped working that schedule many, many years ago, whereas Satanico never stopped.
Right. A couple of other things. Go back to that Vince Russo thing that everybody's talking about. But the most amusing thing I thought on this rant, you guys haven't even mentioned yet, where he talked about, and I quote here, other things of note, I'm close to signing a deal where I will be booking a few shows overseas throughout the year. Hopefully these shows will be on pay-per-view. So I was thinking, I was reading the results of that New Japan pay-per-view.
Oh, maybe he was a super booker. No, that was Inoki.
That explains it.
Yeah, I know, really. Yeah, we're going to shoot a big angle during the commercial.
I mean, it sounds like it. I mean, only if, Kira Hokuto ran out during the Katsuki Sasaki match and took her top off or something like that. A little addition.
Oh, my God.
It turned on him for no reason. She had to do that.
Yeah. And then they were together the next week, saying it was all a swerve.
Shiryu 2 was fantastic. Who's a Mexican luchador who worked a lot of Big Japan dates.
Okay, so I know the name Fantastic, and I've seen him as Fantastic before.
Right.
Okay, I didn't know they were the same
So that's
guy.
who he worked at Shiryu 2. And that match, I guess the guy's name was Chris, right? That he was talking about was on 12/21/1999, and it was Shiryu 2, Minoru Fujita, Jody Fleisch against Sema, Curryman, and Superboy. Have you seen that match?
I don't know. I've seen a lot of Michinoku. I mean, I've seen... I may have, because there was a match I saw with Superboy that was like out of this world with Curryman as a team. I remember that from. So I may have seen that match.
It made the Death Valley Driver 200 matches of the decade. It was probably for pure spot fests, maybe the best one I've ever seen. As far as like the spots they were doing were so high level, they didn't blow anything. I mean, the finish was amazing. Jody Fleisch, who's he's not a great wrestler, but like a really good flyer, leaped onto the top rope to do his shooting star press to the floor springboard, and Chris Daniels in the Curry Man outfit leaped up, landed on the top rope with him, and gave him like a Uranagi off the top rope to the back to the mat. It was like amazing.
Yeah, those guys are nuts.
Yeah, I mean, just like the balance that took. And, if you haven't seen that match, it's really worth, tracking it down.
But that sounds like something like if either guy slipped, they would both be dead.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's not worth it.
No, they totally just kill themselves. One of the people, I think, they mentioned whether any, you talked about guys who would be ready to be brought up, is I think Joey Abs is a good enough worker, at least from the stuff I've seen back when he worked with the Hardys.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of charisma, though. They'd have to give him, like, a good gimmick.
He had a good one when he was in Omega.
Give him a sweater vest back.
Nah, that's, like, ancient.
Oh, that was horrible.
You know the thing with Joey Abs is that no one realizes because he was doing the sweater vest gimmick? He's huge.
Yeah, he's enormous. I used to go to those Omega shows. He's got to be 6'5", 280 or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is like close to 280, and he's got these giant pecs and shoulders. He looks like a bigger Hercules Hernandez. Yeah. I mean, like, with that kind of totally blown up guy that, like, no one realizes because he did the sweater vest gimmick.
Yeah, that was such a career killer. But, I mean, he used to work in Omega with, like, all the Hardys and all those guys, so he's really good at wrestling smaller wrestlers. Like, he had really great matches with Champagne, who's got to be, 5'10", 180 pounds, and he had good matches with guys like Shannon Moore and Jeff Hardy, and he's really good at working smaller guys for somebody that big.
They had a SmackDown taping. I think it was at the Oakland Coliseum. But him and S.A. Rios had I don't know if it was a heat match or a dark match, but it was the best match on the entire show.
Yeah,
he worked real well with S.A. Rios.
I just don't like the idea so much of putting guys like that people remember as the guy from the Mean Street Posse with the new WCW crew. I think they should take some guys and elevate them from WWF and put them over there, and then bring some of those guys like Joey Abs up to WWF.
Well, I mean, you could repackage them. There's a certain percentage of the audience pays a lot of attention to wrestling.
People recognize.
I mean, do you really think the average fan really remembers that Mean Street Posse gimmick from 2 years ago? I mean, it seems like the kind of thing that would be easily forgotten.
No, they, Phil, I swear to God they do, because when I was at that same taping I'm talking about, when they played that music, it wasn't even the guys. The people popped like crazy, like these stars had come back, and it was, Rodney.
Oh man, that's so bad.
He wasn't that good. In fact, I think he wrestled Raven, and I think it was Raven, but whatever it was, they had like this incredibly horrible match.
Oh, I know. I'm not gonna defend the Mean Street Posse again. I think you took me to task last time I tried that. And we were talking about Kevin Nash in Japan. You were talking about Kevin Nash in Japan, and the first tape I ever reviewed for the Death Valley Drive was maybe 2 years ago. It was a Best of Jushin Liger tape.
Oh, the tag match with El Gigante, right?
No, it was Jushin Liger and Kevin Nash as Oz against Hiro Saito and Scott Norton. And it's as good as you'd expect it to be.
Oh, my God.
And he came out with the gimmick, like the hat and the mask.
Oh, my God.
Dyed hair. And he worked in that match, and then they showed clips of a match I really wish I had.
What's the reaction idiot coming out in that outfit?
Deafening. No, Japan...
Really?
No.
No.
I was going to say that's what you could do again.
Who's this big goof in a clown suit? That's what they were thinking.
Exactly, but they had showed
That's what they were thinking here when he came out like that, too.
But they showed clips of like a dream match, and I really wish I had the match full on tape, where it was him, Oz, in a singles match against Shinya Hashimoto. And the clips they showed were just Shinya Hashimoto kicking his lungs out. It was great. It's like I wish I had the whole match on tape, and I wish they'd run it again today. And where'd you get the Sano tape, Dave? Because all I heard around the internet was that show was untaped.
That is what I heard on the internet, but I got a tape express mailed to me this morning, and I know it's that match because I watched about 2 minutes of it. So someone definitely taped it, yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna have to search it out then, because I did hear it was.
Is it a handheld?
Yeah, it's a handheld. Yeah, they didn't tape it for television or anything like that.
Okay, cool. So it exists out there. So
it absolutely exists. Yes.
Excellent. Well, watch it and tell me whether it's worth spending my time and energy searching it down.
Okay, I'm going to watch that whole card probably tonight after Raw, so tomorrow on the show I'll let you know.
Excellent. Okay? Great. Good talking to you guys.
Well, also, I want to make mention that on the site right now, there's a TV review of Jacked by Milton Fernandez of Winnipeg, and it's really funny. I mean, it was like as good as some of your stuff, Brian. Have you seen that one yet?
No, I haven't seen it.
You should look. It's a crack up. He's really funny. Anyway, let me get to a couple of these emails and we'll get back to phone calls. What do you consider the best ring entrances of all time? What best ring entrances? It says Vintage Ric Flair, Undertaker of the 90s, Shawn Michaels, Goldust, Gangrel, Michael Hayes with the Freebirds, DX. God, it's so different. I mean, I remember when the DX thing in late, what would this be, late 1997. I mean, as far as crowd noise, Inoki and The Rock, of course, or Steve Austin. Yeah. But I mean, as far as elaborate, was it Inoki or Muto? Some guy came out, I think it was Inoki, and they had the big harp playing his song at one of the Dome shows. I think that might have been the best. I don't remember if it was Inoki or Great Muta, but I think that was one of the best ring entrances I ever saw. Definitely not Godfather when, who was that guy at that WrestleMania, not this year, but last year? That was awful.
Oh, my God, when he rapped the song for him?
Oh, my God, yeah.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
Even like that DX band when they played Shawn Michaels' music live for that one, the DX pay-per-view. That was pretty horrible.
I thought that was okay.
Really? Sometimes live bands are right, but sometimes I think they're just, like, we talked about The Godfather. That was just hideous.
Yeah. Michaels used to have a really cool ring entrance.
The first time DX did their ring entrance with the music and everything.
Yeah, now, when I remember this is 97, the first time they did that, and I remember watching that going like, this is going to change wrestling. I remember I told me that when I saw that ring entrance, the way they, flashed all that stuff together and with the song, it's like, this is it. This is like, they found it, I knew it. They found it. And it was like, WCW's in more trouble than they think, because this one WCW was like just killing them. And, eventually that turned out to be the case. But yeah, that was, I don't know, to me that hit me really strong. Undertaker, I mean, it's real elaborate theatrical thing with all the druids on the big shows, but I never really got into that one as much as like the Michaels ring entrances were real good. The Goldust was a big production. Gangrel, I mean, coming up from the bottom. Canyon, they were going to do that with Canyon, right?
I think he did come up from the stage one time. It's like
he did like 2 or 3 times right at the end. It wasn't as good as Gangrel.
He got a hell of an entrance, and then it was all over.
Yeah. Hayes, Freebird ring entrance was really, really good. When they had of course it's a different era, but when they had like those Confederate capes and everything on some of the big shows in Dallas. Yeah. It's from John Pope, who goes, lots of people seem to forget ECW started out as a regional promotion. Would a new promotion be better off starting in a small market and building their product instead of trying to launch nationally? Yes. I would agree. Not so much because they wouldn't, I don't think they would be able to make money on a regional basis, but what I think is good is you'd lose less. And also, you'd be able to, if you did like a regional company, in fact, I even like suggested this to people if they want to start something up, is that you get like a local thing and you run regionally 4 or 5 nights a week for a year, so the guys are all ready. And then when you go on national TV, you know what you're doing rather than go on, like, do the XFL gimmick where you're on national TV, you have no idea what you're doing, then 5 weeks later go, oh, please give us another chance after everyone's tuned off.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would think
I would think it'd be a good idea, too, if you're doing that sort of thing, to do a lot of tapings where you're doing it, even if you don't have TV, but you do a lot of tapings where it's live to tape, where everybody has time cues, and the show has to end at a certain time, and everything has to be, so when you're ready for TV, when you go out there, you're not running long or running short or having guys not know what to do when you go, 30 seconds, go home or whatever. I think it's important that a company does that to prepare for TV, as opposed to just being, left in the dark.
UPW's doing that now.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I mean, they run it like it's a Raw show.
Yep.
Where
you don't even need TV to do it. Just have a guy back there with a stopwatch.
Yeah, well, they tape it. They're just, I don't know what they do it. Actually, they do it for a live webcast is actually how they do it.
Yeah.
So, I want to make mention, I have not mentioned this, but, as best, I believe that Ken Shamrock will not be on the show tomorrow, but he will be on a week from tomorrow. So but that's all being worked out, or will be worked out probably the next day. So I just wanted to get that out.
I hope it's worked out the next day.
Yeah, I know. We just won't have him on.
It's tomorrow.
That would be the first time. Yeah, really. Don't forget the great time slot WCW will get on the West with its Saturday night time slot. Actually, TNN is a staggered feed, so it's the exact same time slot on the West Coast.
Yeah.
11 to 1. Unless you got a dish. If you got a dish, you can watch it at 8, which actually is what I will do. In WCW, when NWO was created, I heard it was from All Japan and New Japan, and an angle that Bischoff heard about. Actually, it was New Japan and UWFI. Yeah, and Bischoff went to a pay-per-view at the Tokyo Dome, and it was sold out. I forget which one it was. I think it was they did 3 big ones, and I don't remember which one again that he was at, but he saw it. The heat was incredible, and he was
like 67,000 people there.
Well, there's 3 of them, and they all sold out. The first Muto Takada was like 67, and then the last 2 were like they had the Muto Takada rematch that did like 64, 65, and then they had the Hashimoto Takada where Hashimoto beat Takada for the title, and that was like 64 also. So they had three straight sellouts at the Tokyo Dome. And
I can just see Bischoff there, like the front row with the gears spinning, seeing all these people in the crowd, and that's where it started.
You know, JJ saw the same thing. Remember, you know the story there, right?
Oh, yeah.
JJ went to the Tokyo Dome when they did it was the Ogawa Murakami against Hashimoto and Azuka match from January 4th, 2000 Tokyo Dome. And this was right when they were trying to get rid of Russo. And JJ came back, and it was like, that had incredible heat. I remember when I saw that, it was the same feeling. When I saw that match, it was the same feeling I had when I watched the DX thing we talked about. Totally different things, but I would watch that and go, this is something so totally different, and it's really, really good. Except for the DX thing, you can do that ring entrance 52 weeks a year on TV. This kind of a match you can only do so often. But the whole thing is you got to, if you know when to do it, it was just such an awesome style of work that I'd never seen before, kind of a work-shoot thing with really brutal punches and everything, that everyone believed, and the heat was out of this world. So JJ comes back with that, and, had no idea what he saw, but he knew he saw something really good, and they actually,
Then he watched TV and saw a bunch of 1-minute matches with Oklahoma, and he said something's got to change.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, they all started working on, ideas, and by the time they got there, I think, I don't know, they just beat Tank Abbott with a crossface. They didn't know what to do.
When they played Jim Ross's music on SmackDown, were you afraid that Oklahoma was going to come out?
Yes.
You know, that was it's so horrible, but I was at a gymnastics meet 2 weeks ago, and I'm standing there, and they do the national anthem, and I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at the flag, and they're playing the music, and I swear to you, I was waiting for MIA's music to play.
Oh.
I thought for sure that something was going to happen, it was going to get interrupted.
Yeah. Yeah, the Canadians are going to attack the Patriot.
That's right.
Yeah, when is Bret Hart going to write a book on his career? He's actually doing that right as we speak. Where are Barry Orton, Jerry Allen, and Bob Bradley these days? Jerry Allen died, Jerry Oski, died many years ago of a heart attack when he was 32 years old. Barry Orton is living in Las Vegas, and I don't know what he's doing. He was going to write a book, but he never did. And Bob Bradley...
And he's still writing it.
Yeah, maybe. Bob Bradley, I have no idea whatever happened to Bob Bradley. This is from someone who goes, MattRats.com is awesome. I don't care that it's Backstreet Boys style. The high spots are insane. I think that they would move right into the number 2 slot. I wouldn't go that far, but I enjoyed it. It was good, Let's see. Seriously, is there any pro wrestling in China? There have been occasional shows... There have been occasional shows there by Japanese promotions, but they don't have any circuits or anything like that as far as I know of. Let's go to Curtis in California. Curtis, what's going on?
Hello?
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. I was wondering what's going on with Raven and this whole Christ thing. Because I remember when I used to see when ECW used to say stuff like I've been crucified for my sins and stuff.
Yeah, he did say that. I guess he can't say that in WWF.
How come?
He even got crucified.
Yeah, he says stuff like
crucified.
That. And he comes out with his arms, all on the side, like a cross.
Yeah, like crucified, yeah. That's just his gimmick. It's got nothing to do with Jesus Christ being crucified. It's the Raven pose.
Oh. I was wondering, remember that...
kind of like the Undertaker symbol.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a cross. It's a symbol.
Yeah. I had, 2 comments about WrestleMania. I thought that TLC match sucked. It was, too quick.
Too quick? 15 minutes is long enough. Those guys were going to die if they went too much longer.
I know. I'm watching it right now because I taped it. That Battle Royal, that gimmick Battle Royal, you guys remember that wrestler named Tatanka?
Yes.
I thought he was going to come out. I was so happy. Remember that one black guy who came out? His music sounds similar, and I thought he was going to come out. I was hella mad.
Oh well.
Black guy.
Oh well, they couldn't find him.
They couldn't? They were looking for him, though?
I don't know. I mean, he didn't have the right friends. What can I say?
They could have brought back
guys
Ahmed
were big-
Johnson. He'd have killed everyone in the ring.
Some people would have to have like their liver removed and stuff by the end, right?
Yeah, but besides
remember that guy?
What's going on with Raven's career?
Nothing. He's just there, He's there, and he's not going to complain because if he
He
did,
lost to Maine Clean on Sunday Night Heat. That should tell you something.
yeah,
Cause
I know.
Because I heard he's like all sloppy now. Because I was reading about him in WoW magazine, and they said he was like all sloppy in ECW, and he's making.
He was out of
people...
shape in ECW for sure.
Yeah.
And the many eat a lot of sloppy
he wasn't
Joes.
very good in ECW towards the end, so.
Oh, so didn't he hold the belt, the ECW title, for like a year?
I think so, yeah. I think he did at one point, yeah.
Yeah, I was mad when he lost the United States belt after one night, because he won it from DDP at Spring Stampede, and then he lost the next night to Goldberg.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how that works out, so...
Actually, in hindsight, how about that?
Yeah, it sounds like, when I hear that story, it sounds like DDP was pretty smart.
Didn't even think about that at the time, actually.
No, but you know what? I remember Raven and Goldberg, that was a phenomenal piece of business. You remember all those run-ins and everything? That was one of the real high points of Goldberg's career, I think, was that match.
Whole flock ran in.
Well,
he just killed everybody.
What match was that?
The Goldberg
What was the
Raven
one the
match.
next night that you were talking about?
Yeah, the whole flock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get running, okay?
Huh?
We're going to get running, okay? Okay, let's go to, is it Tom in Connecticut?
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're doing really good.
I wanted to, talk about how WCW is going to be with WWF now.
Yes. Okay.
And all the good things they could do with it.
They could do a lot of good things.
Like,
but
I'm thinking really off the bat is Chavo Guerrero and Test. Because Test...
See ya.
How about China and Sean Stasiak?
No, because Chavo, Test and Eddie had the feud, and it was really good, and Chavo's even better than Eddie, I believe.
Yeah, but he's even smaller, too. That's the problem.
Do you know how big a size difference there is with Test and yeah, it's
What about Nash and Rey Mysterio, 99?
Yeah, that was a disaster, too.
I know, I'm just kidding about that one. But no, really, another one is Taz and Reno, both pretty around the same size, if you think size is a factor.
Reno's a pretty decent worker. I hope that Reno gets a shot there. He doesn't seem to have a lot of charisma, but I always thought he was pretty good. And, Taz and Reno, I think Reno's probably a couple inches bigger than Taz.
What about Tommy
he's a lot
Dreamer?
heavier.
Do you think maybe he could be in it? Because I was thinking a good thing for him is if they put like a manager with him like Francine, but instead of Francine, he'd be like Medusa.
Oh, God, I don't think Medusa will ever see television for the... I think Medusa's days are over. I don't think they're looking for 40-year-old women in that company.
She's 40?
Believe her real age is right around 40, yeah. Maybe...
Plus,
maybe
she
39.
trashed that title.
And you guys are talking about some of the best entrances, and one that comes to mind for me is definitely Crush. I thought was a good one because if you look back, if you were watching an old event, his music was very good.
Crush when he was with DOA?
No, Crush when it was with Hawaiian like
Oh, when he was feuding with Randy Savage.
Yes. No. Before that, when he was Orange and Blonde.
Yeah.
He used to crush people's head with his grip.
Yeah, he used to crush people's heads. Yes.
Where he crushed
The
people's
coconut crush or something?
Yes, the cranium crunch.
Yeah, I remember him.
His music was incredible.
The Kona Crunch, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, what happened to his career?
But that music was great. They should give it to someone else these days.
Let's see if they could find. Maybe they'll give it to that rock imitator. Brian, you know about the rock imitator they got?
Booker T?
Oh yeah, he was.
Is it Booker T, the rock imitator?
Shorter, but bodybuilder type.
I saw him on the Ohio Valley like a week or two ago. It is so scary. This guy, he looks more like The Rock than The Rock, if that's
possible. What about
possible.
Booker T? Doesn't he look like The Rock sometimes?
No, he looks nothing like The Rock. He just copies The Rock shirt and his finisher. That's about it.
Yeah, what I was thinking also is what they could do is do the with Shane Douglas and Bam Bam Bigelow and Chris Candido could be the triad.
I don't think Chris Candido's going to be there. I don't think Shane Douglas is going to be there, and I don't like Bam Bam Bigelow's
because I was
either.
going to say feud with DX, the new DX with Albert.
I don't think that one's going to happen.
It'd be good matches for Survivor Series too.
I don't think so. Anyway, we got to get running, okay?
All right. Good night.
Okay.
Those are some great ideas.
Oh, God. On a day like today, I wish that there was still a WCW live show. So anyway, let me get to a couple more emails. When Shawn Michaels was training for the Iron Man match, was Jose Lothario a gimmick? Or was he Shawn's real-life mentor? He was a gimmick. No, Jose Lothario was Shawn's original trainer.
How can a person be a gimmick?
Ed Leslie. Hulk Hogan. Inoki. Let's see. What are ring rats called in Mexico? I have no idea.
They're called, ratas?
I don't even know. I should ask. Really?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Okay. I don't know. Okay. What was the name of the Mexican wrestler buried wearing his mask? El Santo was buried wearing his mask. I think that's probably who you're thinking. What?
Lots of them. Blue Demon?
Yeah. Since most of today's wrestling audience has only been watching for 3 years, do you think WF could reissue some old gimmicks from the past? I could really dig a new slick managing Paul White as the new Akeem. That's so funny. Just thinking about it, he'd probably be pretty funny at it, too. Because he's got a good sense of humor.
The old slick.
Managing the new. By the way, Paul White's going to have an interview on WrestlingObserver.com this coming Wednesday. It's actually, if you read it, it's actually pretty good.
I read most of it, yeah. I was actually scanning for my own name first, but...
And it wasn't there.
I just had to make sure.
Ric Flair has said if he doesn't go to the WF that he and Arn Anderson may open up a regional promotion in Charlotte. If he does, do you think it would succeed? I sure hope so. I just happen to...
As a small regional? Might do okay. Succeed as far as becoming huge and going up against WWF now.
I think the odds of this happening are very, very slim. What it is if, okay, and this is actually how I was, okay, if Ric Flair doesn't go to WWF, which is most likely going to happen, that he's not going to go, and if he's let out of his contract to work independence by WCW, which is most likely also not going to happen, then he would theoretically go and, but it's not going to happen because if he can work elsewhere, he's going to go to WWF. And if he can't work elsewhere, he's not going to do the independent. As far as starting the own independent, I know that David Crockett, who's been in wrestling his entire life, would love to start an independent promotion. And they may very well do that. They may very well try. But I don't think he'll be able to wrestle because all those guys that are under WCW deals have been told that the minute you wrestle any independent show, we're breaching your contract. And he's got $800 a year for 2 years, and he ain't going to breach that. Yeah. This is from John, who says, some years ago when Ken Patera returned to the WWF, he did an interview with Bobby Heenan in the ring where Heenan's words were bleeped, and there was a trailer across the screen saying something to the effect of they were censoring his vile accusations. Since it had been admitted and publicized that Patera had been in prison, what was the deal? It was just like comedy. That they just thought it would be really funny to say that, like, Bobby Heenan was slandering him. And by editing it out, he could say, you could just use your imagination as opposed to, like, what he actually was saying. Let's see. I already know about... We already looked at the rating of that Raw and Nitro when anyway, let's see. WF seems to be getting more and more short-term in its storylines. Yeah, everyone in wrestling is, without building much continuity for later on. For example, have they forgotten about Stephanie's missing night with Kurt Angle from last year? I know.
They sure have.
Yeah, I hate the fact that I've become addicted to a soap opera as well as a wrestling, but it bugs me when I remember the things that are forgotten by the writers. Yeah, they kind of forgot about that whole angle. This is from, what the hell is Russo talking about? We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun with Russo as long as he keeps his mouth open. Do you think Ultimate Dragon will ever wrestle again? Most likely no, unless it's like in a 6-man tag where it's like where he's only in for like a minute or so. Yeah. Whatever happened to Lex Luger? Whatever happened to his ability?
Been asking that for years.
Yeah. Let's see. These are the first 3 tentative WCW taping dates. June 13th, Fairfax, Virginia. June 20th, Jacksonville. June 27th, Bethlehem, PA. I'll check on that. I'm sure you're right, though. Because I'd heard Fairfax as well. I didn't hear the other dates. Why? Okay. If I met Hunter backstage, I would call him Terra. Oh, God. In Wrestling with Shadows, you know this one, Bret Hart's wife is yelling at Hunter, calling him Hunter. I thought it was interesting because he was angry at a fictional character.
Everybody calls him Hunter, though.
I know. Question about a pay-per-view on free TV. Do you think a Royal Rumble or WrestleMania or SummerSlam on free TV?
Like, for example, Big Show. I don't think people call him Big.
They call him
Maybe
Show?
They probably call him
They do
Paul.
call him Show. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is from someone who goes, does Terry Funk come into the Iron Man League? No, Terry Funk never wrestled consistently for 20 years, 5 nights a week. He had a few runs here and there, but Terry Funk's career as a full-time wrestler, except for, he had that 1989 run in WCW, but for most of that, the last 20 years, he hasn't been doing, 5-6 night a week wrestling. He would wrestle for like maybe a month, 2 months, maybe 3 months, and then take just do weekends every now and then. I mean, he's never been like full-time for long periods of time, so he wouldn't be even close. Someone's got Ricky Morton. The thing is, Ricky Morton's been working mainly weekends for so many years that I don't think he could come close to like the number of dates as like Satanico, who like really has wrestled full time. Satanico might be the guy, and Perro obviously too. As a person who's never seen mixed martial arts before, I'm wondering to watch a show at my local video store. They have a Pride DVD with Ken Shamrock on the cover. Would you recommend this one? Would you recommend Pride? Pride's a good show. It's got the biggest name fighters. That's what we haven't talked about. You didn't watch the Pride, did you? Or did you?
I'm supposed to have a tape here. In fact, it was actually supposed to be here yesterday, but because it was me, it was not here.
We'll talk about that some other time, I guess. Not really much. Just when you see it, just let me know what you think. I mean, most of the people who I talked to liked the show more than I did. I liked it, but most people really liked it, and I don't know. It's short matches, and I don't like the brutality was a little too much in the Sakuraba Silva fight. I was just sad watching it, even though it was for 2 minutes. It was a hell of a 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. This is from Jay Thompson, who says, do you think WOW can't succeed because it's women's wrestling or because it's Dave McClain? I think it can't succeed because there's no way to make money. I mean, where does the money come in? It has nothing to do with Dave McClain. Yeah, but I mean, who's going to spend money on it? Even if you watch it on TV, it's like, where does the money come in? You can't tour with it and make any money because you can't sell tickets to it. And you can't put it on pay-per-view and make any money because they just tried that and did 6,000 buys for the whole country, which is unbelievably horrible. So, there it is. It didn't work. I mean, and you're not going to build an audience because I heard that, that show was the all-time worst. So, what are these chances of these people getting into WCW? Dawn Marie, I just don't know where their heads are at when it comes to Dawn Marie. I don't know. Francine, I know that Paul will push it, but I don't think. Nova, maybe. Modest, probably not. Daniels, probably not. Lawler, no way. FBI, let's see. Guido may have a shot. Tony Mamaluke, be tough. Prototype, chance. But it's too soon.
Chance in the future or chance right now?
If they do it now, it'd be a huge mistake. In 6 months to 8 months, it might be a pretty darn good idea. Super Crazy, I hope they do. I hope they bring in Super Crazy. He's good. Was it just me or was Lita Spike Dudley real good last night? I don't know. Did you see that?
Actually, it was a lot better than I expected. It was kind of like watching, I don't want to say Ric Flair and Vince Russo or something like that, but you could tell that Spike was just doing his damnedest.
Mm-hmm.
Clean finish, though. That was disturbing.
Let's see. What about airing the first WCW show from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. on a Monday after Raw to get a good lead-in and ensure a good rating for the first show and use it as proof for TNN they deserve a better time slot?
I don't think
as far as
4 hours of wrestling.
Yeah, but I think that's the best idea to kick it off. I do think that's a good idea for the first week. Not every week, though. No. It's not. And everyone wouldn't want to do it anyway. But as far as, just to say, okay, this is the first show and then start it the following Saturday, that's not the worst idea. Let's go to Justin in Pennsylvania. Justin, what's going on?
Hey, Dave. How's it going?
It's going pretty good.
I just have 2 quick questions. About Foley's philosophical differences about the WrestleMania main event last year. Mm-hmm. Do you think he might have been upset about having to play heel for part of the match? Like after Big Show got eliminated and then he gave Rock the mandible claw?
I doubt it.
I think, if anything, I think he was mad that he did it. In hindsight, because he wasn't in shape for it, and he had mentally retired. I mean, you could tell. I mean, he was called back after he had figured he'd wrestle his last match, and it was, he did it. He got a big payday out of it, so I'm sure he's happy with that. But I think actually doing it, as far as the art part of it, I think that he felt that he shouldn't have been there. And then
I think he's
especially
going to
after...
look back and regret doing it in the first place, and probably the only spot in the entire match he'll ever remember is when he tried to go off the post and came short.
Yeah.
Hit the edge of the table.
All right. Well,
Other than that, I don't think he's going to remember anything.
that entire match was kind of a mess when you look back on it. But the other question, is Zach Arnold ever going to be back on the show? And if so, can you get Trevor from Canada to call up again and talk to him?
I don't know. I don't know of any dates that we have booked on him, and I don't know. Trevor from Canada. I don't know.
Yeah, that was one for the books. Okay,
yeah,
thanks a lot, guys.
That was a moment.
Yes, it was. Sean, what's up, Sean?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Not too much.
I was thinking, I can't believe Triple H. Like, he was talking about putting people over and wanting to make money with some of the younger guys, but he put over the Undertaker at WrestleMania, and I'll tell you what, man, give that Undertaker a good gimmick. He's got a bright future. Like what the fuck is he thinking? And
he's swerving, just like everybody in wrestling. They say exactly
what he's doing.
They say exactly what you want to hear. I mean, everyone knows. Oh, I'll gladly put over anyone and shake their hand, and then you manipulate it. So whenever you put people over, you're getting yourself over.
No, I
Look
understand.
what you can say right now. You can go, I put over the Undertaker clean in the middle of the ring on the biggest WrestleMania ever.
But it's the fucking Undertaker, It's not like putting over Benoit or Jericho or even Angle for that matter. Somebody who might need a big win on a big show.
Yeah, well, you saw through it and I saw through it, but he's talking to people who didn't see through it.
Well, so why doesn't McMahon see through it? Or does he not think, Angle, Benoit, or Jericho can pull money working a program with Triple H?
I think
or does he even care?
I mean, I think that it's one of those things. If they went to Triple H and go, this is the match, and you're supposed to put him over, he would do it gladly. I mean, or at least, I wouldn't say gladly, but he would do it, no problem.
He would appear to be doing it gladly.
Yeah, he would appear to do it gladly. Yeah, but they don't ask because they have their. I think that the whole thing was like, okay, we're going to set Undertaker up for Austin, so he saw that that's just it was kind of like the storyline. They haven't really asked him to put over Benoit clean yet. And so it takes someone to force the hand.
Actually, they have. Remember that tag match where he fell off the ropes?
Okay. Yeah, in the tag match where they did that fluke finish.
Right, but if they want to do something with even just say like Benoit or Jericho, they need to do it. I can see them putting it off till maybe June or July, sometime deep into the summer, where Triple H jobs during a Raw, where everybody's watching, but they shouldn't put it off to a SmackDown where. He did a job, but it's not a high visibility job. Like, he needs to do it clean in the middle of the ring where, either,
so
one of the young guys needs to do it, but it's not going to happen.
No, it will sooner or later. It has to. I just don't know when.
Well, I don't know, 10 years
and it might not
now.
be for those guys. It might be for, the Big Show or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's done wonders for Raven and Kane, so. All right, guys, that's about it. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Is Alan next?
Hello?
Alan.
Yeah, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. What's going on?
I had a quick question. I didn't want to, I don't know if I should ask on the radio or whatever, but a question. I was wondering, everybody Goldberg and Raven, guys like that, Malenko, and I happen to be Jewish. They're Jewish, right?
Goldberg, Raven, and Malenko are all Jewish, yes.
Yeah, I was curious. Are there any other wrestlers in the business? Out of curiosity, that are Jewish?
There's probably tons of others. I just don't. I don't know. Barry Horowitz comes to mind. That's the only one that comes to mind, but I'm sure there's many others.
Because I heard I read somewhere, I happened to go on Missy Hyatt's website once, and she had, you remember that Adam Sandler Hanukkah song?
Oh, yeah.
And she had, some people listed on there. I don't know if she wrote it, and some of the names I didn't even know she had on there, Molly, Holly, and Kane, and Albert, and I was, wondering if it was true.
It might be.
I think I think all those names are accurate.
I think
yeah,
Matt
asking
Moon,
around.
he
She
is.
can ask Dave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I didn't know Molly Holly though. But then again, the name's it is a Jewish name. What, Nora Greenwald,
Holly.
Right?
Oh.
Yeah, Holly.
Well, that's that already. It was funny. I was listening to Bite This once. I don't know if you ever listened to that before.
No, because I think we're on the air around the same time they are.
Oh, I see. I was listening to it once with Paul Heyman. He was funny, about this.
He's Jewish too.
Yeah, some kid called up and he called him a dumb, a Jewish kid. He asked him if he was Jewish, and he called him a dumb Jew or something. Paul Heyman is just a funny character.
Yeah, he is. He's very entertaining.
Yeah.
Very quick-witted, yeah.
But I didn't know if I should ask that on radio. It was just, a curious question. It wasn't,
Yeah. Missy Hyatt's Jewish too.
Yeah, she is.
Well, I don't know if she is this week. She married into the Jewish religion, but I don't know where it stands today. It's been like a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. When she's on I know she'll be on the show again because she's got a book coming up. And when she is, we can ask her what her religion is.
She's a character.
She's a character, yeah. Most people in wrestling are. Anyway, we are totally out of time right now. I want to thank everyone for joining in, and we'll be on here tomorrow. We'll be talking about Raw, and we probably don't have Ken Shamrock on, but we may, and we'll let you know tomorrow on the website if we know any more. And anyway, I want to say goodbye, and we'll see everybody tomorrow at 5.